We're going to call to order the Presque City Council meeting for Wednesday, October 1st, 2025. Could you please join us for the Pledge of Allegiance?
Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
All right, thank you very much. At this time, I'm going to take a minute to come to the podium. All right. So what we've got tonight is something that's kind of renewing an old tradition, if you will, and that's recognizing some of the people that help build our community and make our community what it is. That often includes all kinds of things, but mainly the people. The people of our community. We're truly blessed to have the people surround us that we're surrounded by. I'll get started with a little note here written by Josh Blanchett, president of the International Association of Firefighters. And Josh writes, after graduating from barber school, Dwight began his career on July 8, 1966, working for Armand Daigle. In June of 1967, he purchased his own business from Luke Wader and began operating out of the Presque Hotel, formerly known as the Northeastland Hotel. After 15 years there, he bought out Arthur Gibson and moved into the location where he continues to operate Dwight's Barbershop to this day. With a remarkable 59 years of dedication to the city, his career has touched generations of families who have come to know him not just as a barber, but as a friend, a neighbor, and beyond his shop, he also gave back through public service as a volunteer firefighter with the Presque Fire Department from 1969 to 1974. His commitment, work ethic, and devotion to his community has left a lasting mark. We thank him for his many decades of service and celebrate the legacy he continues to build. So, I don't know if there's anybody in the room who does not know Dwight Hellstrom, but many of us do. And I have very fond memories as a child, little. I may have even had my first haircut at Dwight's barbershop, and I know many have. I remember going there on Saturdays with my dad when it was haircut time. Usually, about time school would go back in, make sure you had a good haircut for school pictures and all that. And it was always short, high, and tight, just the way Mom wanted it. I continue to let my hair grow, mainly because I can now. So, in a special recognition of 59 years of dedicated service to our community, since 1966, your commitment to excellence, unwavering integrity, and lasting vision have been a cornerstone of our community. Your efforts have not only built a thriving business in Presque, but have also fostered growth and stability for nearly 6 decades. This certificate is awarded in gratitude for your loyal service and invaluable contributions, which have made a significant and positive impact on the lives of your customers, employees, and neighbors. On behalf of the Presque City Council, the city manager, and city staff, please accept the certificate in celebration of this remarkable milestone with appreciation, and we honor your legacy of hard work and commitment. Dwight, this certificate of appreciation is for you.
Well, I just want to say that it's been a pleasure to work that many years in this town. And I'm on 4 generations of a lot of families. And I hope to continue to be working. I had a little mishap Saturday and fell and hurt my leg and knee, so that's why I'm at the walker. But that's a short time. I should be back to work pretty soon. I appreciate you guys doing this for me. Thank you.
Thank you, Dwight.
Thank you,
You're
Dwight.
you're an inspiration
Thanks,
to
Dwight.
many your age and many much younger. Thank you very much.
It's very powerful.
Okay, can you hear me through this one? All right. Moving on to our public hearing portion of tonight's city council meeting. Agenda item number 1, we're looking for an approval for a special permit for music, dancing, and entertainment to Time Out Sports Bar and Restaurant with a location of 116 Main Street. Sonia, would you like to introduce this to us? Everything looks to be well in order, and I don't know if there's anything you want to add?
Certainly, Counselor. Approval is recommended as vendor has satisfied all requirements and public safety has no concerns.
Very well. Is there anybody from the audience who would like to address council on this one? Seeing none, I'll entertain a motion.
Mr. Chair, I move we approve a special permit for music, dancing, and entertainment to Time Out Sports Bar and Restaurant with a location on 116 Main Street.
I'll second it.
Motion made by Mike and seconded by Hank.
Yes.
Thank you very much, folks. Have a wonderful evening. Thank you. Any discussion among council?
No.
Seeing none. All those in favor? 7-0. Motion carries. Okay, moving along to item number 2 on our agenda. We're looking for an approval for an application for a malt, spirituous, and vinous license to Talk Pizza LLC, doing business as Pat's Pizza of Presque with a location of 9 North Street. And again, I think these are all pretty much straightforward approvals. It appears as though everything's in line on this one. Would you agree? Thank you, Sonia.
Yeah, approval is recommended.
Okay.
Counselor.
Anybody from the audience have anything to comment on this one? Seeing none, council, I would entertain a motion.
Mr. Chairman, I'd move that we issue a malt, spirituous, and vinous liquor license to Talk Pizza LLC, DBA Pat's Pizza, Presque, location on 9 North Street.
I'll second.
Very well. Motion made by Craig and seconded by Harold. Any discussion? Seeing none, all those in favor? 7-0, motion passes. Moving along to item number 3, we're looking for approval to amend Chapter 48 General Assistance Ordinance, Appendix A through H. Sonia, I'll let you bring us up to speed on this one,
Certainly.
if you
So
don't
this,
mind. Thank you.
thank you, Mr. Chair. This is an annual amendment. This is an annual amendment to the income guidelines. City Clerk Kim is available to answer your questions.
No major changes in this. Were there, Kim? This looks pretty much the
It's
same.
basically the state changes like income guidelines a little.
Yep.
Like usually $30 or so.
Sure.
And they just do this every October and
Yep, pretty much procedural stuff, all right. Any comments from the audience on this one? Seeing none, council, I would look for a motion.
Mr. Chair, I move to approve the amendments to Chapter 48 General Assistance Ordinance, Appendix A through H as presented.
Very well. Motion on the floor by Harold and seconded by Tim. Any discussion, guys? Seeing none, all those in favor? 7-0. All right. Item number 4, we're looking for an approval for an automobile graveyard permit to Paul Jalbert, doing business as Jalbert Auto Salvage with a location of 204 Chapman Road. And this again is just a pretty much a procedural renewal. Seems as though he's met all of the requirements. With that said, is there anybody from the audience who has anything to comment on Jalbert's? Seeing none. Council, I would entertain a motion.
Mr. Chair, I approve make a motion to approve the automobile graveyard permit for Paul Jalbert, doing business as Jalbert Auto and Salvage with a location at 204 Chapman Road.
All right, thank you, Hank. Second?
Second?
Craig?
Second.
Any discussion? Seeing none, all those in favor? 7-0, motion passes. And item number 5 is a similar approval for an automobile graveyard permit to Cowitz Used Auto Parts, doing business as CAR Parts, with a location of 259 Fort Road. And again, everything to my viewing is in line from Cowitz with their application. Anybody from the audience care to address council on this one? Seeing none. Council, I would entertain another motion.
Mr. Chair, I'll make a motion to approve the automobile graveyard permit for Cow's Used Auto Parts, doing business as CAR Parts with location at 259 Fort Road.
Thank you, Hank.
Second.
Seconded by Michael. Any discussion, guys? All right, all those in favor? 7-0, motion carries. And also on our public hearing portion, we are looking for approval for an application for a malt, spirituous, and vinous license to Ferris Barbecue Incorporated with a location of 79 Parsons Street. And again, this is pretty much just a procedural application process, and everything looks to be in line and well presented to me. Anybody from the audience care to address council on anything with Ferris? Seeing none, council? I would entertain a motion.
Mr. Chair, I move we approve a malt, spirituous, and vinous liquor license to Ferris Barbecue Incorporated with a location of 79 Parsons Street.
I'll second it.
Thanks, Mike. Thank you, Hank. Any discussion, guys? Seeing none? All those in favor? 7-0, motion carries. Okay, this brings us to our citizen comments portion of this evening's meeting. This is an opportunity for you to come to the podium, address council if you wish. We ask that you keep it short and respectful. There are a couple letters that have been submitted and read by council and the city clerk and have been entered into public record. So with that, looks like Mr. Green is ready to address.
Yes, hi everyone, citizens. This is a letter to the citizens of Presque from me, and I do it here because I want you to understand it's for me as a citizen in the community, not as someone necessarily on the board, but to explain a little bit that I think that I need to explain, and something that I really think I need to say. I want to address the recent interactions of the council and the citizens. We are your elected representatives, and we are no different than any of you who live next door to us. In the past week, the level of unbecoming rhetoric and suspicion has reached a level that is totally unacceptable. We, along with the staff of the city, have been treated with everything from hugs and warm wishes to obscenities and even private threatening communications. One staff member has even been stalked. That is not okay. When the elected representatives, your council, are asked by the citizens or outside entities for information, our duty is always the same. We are expected to be fair, plain dealing, explore all sides and avenues. That means we'll discuss, we will meet, we will explore and communicate with those persons and those entities. You can expect we will enter into agreements and contracts, and that's what we do. That, however, does not mean that every time you see an item listed that we are completely settled on any plan. We have received emails this week that have been everything from well-intentioned, thoughtful ideas to belligerent, demeaning ones that are laced with name-calling. Let me remind you of who you are communicating with and say that we do want you to contact and engage us. But just remember that we are you. We are your neighbors, your friends, and your relatives, your fellow citizens. We are not your enemy. Sonia, our new city manager, grew up in Presque, one of the Plummer family. She attended school here. She was my next seatmate in French class in high school. She went away to be educated and worked for a while and then returned home to make her mark. 28 years she served as our librarian, helping thousands of residents to get information and connect the world of knowledge. She has an equestrian farm. She gives of herself to help local children and families with therapy, fun, and other special events. She's been a ray of light in her new position and continues to ask how we can do better. In her first few months, she began to tackle the homeless issues, intercity staffing issues. She even spearheaded the first of its kind, Aroostook County municipal meeting of towns in the county to find ways that we can all work together. She has even begun to figure out what, if any, role we might have in the Nordic facility. However, some have not given her the chance to even take a few breaths before calling for her resignation or firing. I'm not sure that we are even talking about the lady I know. She's doing great and will continue to do so. So give her your respect and give her your ideas. She's a native Presquillian, and she absolutely cares. Mike Chassie, my very good friend, is an inspiration to me and to many others in our community. He came to the council 10 years ago to fill a vacancy that we had. He has been elected 3 times since. During his first year, he worked with me and others on the community center project. Mike, being an engineer, took this project under his wing and helped economize the plan and saved you, the taxpayer, $4 million. He has worked on the Aroostook Waste Solutions Partnership Agreement. That now saves us over $400,000 per year. He and his family have created a business that rivals any in Maine for recreation, and they have donated to many local charities. One of them I saw was in the 5-digit figure range. He gives back to his community. Mike recently became the general manager of Big Rock Ski Operations, and certainly not because he needs anything else to do, but he cares deeply about our home and your family. So the nasty accusations to be leveled at him and his family are so completely disgusting and wrong, I'm appalled. He has chosen to build and give. Some of you have chosen to be bullies and wretched. Mike is tremendous, and I will ask you to show him your appreciation for his service to us all. Hank King is a local member of the construction community. Also, he chose to come to Presque after school and build his life here. He is a local fraternal order member. He has volunteered for many local charities, and he's been on the council for just over a year. And he's doing a great job to bring new perspectives. He joined several of our committees and boards early on to help them be successful. This past summer, he even helped with our downtown committee to bring new events. He, like all of us, must earn every dollar he spends on taxes and programs. So he understands deeply what it means to live within his means, and Hank is also your council vice chair. Jeff Follett is a local son as well. He chose to go into his family business, and he lost his dad at a young age and was left to carry on that business. Over 20 plus years, he has now built a new shop, created a trusted place to do business. He has 2 wonderful sons and an amazing wife. Jeff stepped up this year to be the chairman of the council. His leadership is quiet, thoughtful, and heartfelt. He has volunteered for many positions over his tenure and makes sure that all citizen interactions are valued and answered. Jeff is the man that is there to support you when things get hard. He has navigated several items this year that were very unforeseen and immediate, and he's done a great job, and he also deserves your respect. Doug Sear, a local business owner, 3rd generation of the family, that has cared for your parents and grandparents. He carries on the tradition not only of a massively important housing and care operation, but he has taken time to give of his time to navigate city operations and our business policy. He has an acute sense of financial responsibility and fiduciary trust. Harold Hull was recently elected to our council and has just begun his service to you, the citizens. He's a local family man, and his quiet introspection and deliberation is helping make good decisions, and he has also given his volunteer efforts to our homeless shelter board. Tim Levesque was recently appointed to fill a term that just ends in 3 months. Good timing, Tim. He entered into this position with the desire to analyze and vet our decisions, and his background in electronic communications and systems is one that brings a whole new talent to us. he is already making an important impact on our group. For myself, if you don't know me by now, you ain't never gonna. Let me just say that my upbringing was one that you didn't do for yourself. You have a duty to others. The golden rule is the guide. However, I'll make no apology to those on social media that feel entitled to hide behind fake names or be anonymous. You are the problem, and you embody all that is wrong in society today. Our local pages that demean and destroy local people, businesses, and organizations are pure garbage. Even your participation, the public now, in these pages is hurting our community. We have heard several times after reading this drivel that these people that chose to leave our community when they could have come here and started a business or have moved here. So this very thing that would help spread an expense over a larger population and grow our schools and add to employment, you are supporting the destruction of that with these groups. I urge you to seek out positive alternatives and unfollow these toxic communications and platforms. To close tonight, you are going to hear about some new and very exciting things in our community, our aerospace park and others. We are your partners in the future. We are well aware of your budget. We know you're struggling. We are too. The reason that hate has taken hold and reached a new fever pitch is because social media allows you to say things you would never say face to face. Step back, take a breath. Remember that we are your peers. We care about you. I hope they find this message enlightening. And frankly, if you're offended, so be it, because you're probably the problem. If you agree with me, then this is your call to action. Be kind, be polite, ask questions, and occasionally, it would be very nice for the local citizens to hear from you, thank you. To our businesses that feed and clothe you and help you, to our volunteers that bring opportunities to you, and to my fellow members of the city government who work with you, once in a while, a thank you wouldn't be a bad thing. So let's all try to be better, support each other as we move forward towards our future. Very truly yours, Greg Green.
Thank you, Craig. That was really nice. Spot on. I agree. We're still open for citizen comments. Is there anybody else that would like to address?
Please.
Oh, I think she can.
Hello.
Hi, thank you. And that was very nice. So I'm just following up. I do see in new business that we're going to be talking about 16 Judge Street. Okay, so what I might be saying, you might be kind of answering some of that questions here. I did follow up. I do have more pictures to share with you as things have gotten worse over time. I am speaking on behalf of Kim, who is the neighbor of 16 Judge Street. She was unable to make it today because she had to leave work. This has created a lot of stress for her and her family. Her mother has now moved out of the house. Okay? She had left work because she is under a great deal of stress. Okay? Her mom was threatened last week that he was going to kill her. Okay, this is why she is now moved to Elm Street, I believe. Okay, this is very serious. We were at the Presque police station the other night. I went with her. Actually, I was going because I was so irate of what's going on and continues to happen. We haven't cleaned up anything. We're not doing anything. I know there's rules. I know there's laws. I know there's a lot, but there's also safety. There's also, what about Kim? What about Kim? What about her family? What about her rights? What about her safety, right? Something has to be done, and it needs to be done now, not next month, not tomorrow. It needs to be done now. And that's what I'm asking, is to have something done now. It's not fair. This has gone on too long. The first call was in April, and she's done all the right things. She's made all the right calls to all the right people. We have documentation. We have emails, dozens and dozens of calls to the police station. He's setting fires. He's got you know, a wood stove going that's blowing into the back house. You know what I mean? I'm sure he doesn't have a fire permit. I know I went on the last night or a couple nights ago. I couldn't get one. I know he doesn't have one. As citizens here in Presque Isle, I would be served all kinds of fines, I think, if I was living home and doing half the things that he's doing. You know, there may be mental illness. I know there's a lot of it around. I do feel badly. But why is Kim and her family suffering, now moving from her home? Why is that fair, and why aren't we doing something for her? And that's why I'm here tonight, is to speak on her behalf. And somehow, we need to do something, because you know what? I love this community too, you know, and I love the people that are in it. I love what it stands for, right? And we as a community need to help those that can't speak for themselves. Okay, she moved here 3 years ago and she loves this place, right? I've lived here a long time. I've raised my kids. We love this place, okay? We need to help. We need to help her, and we need to help her now. I don't care what the courts are saying. We can do something for her and her family, please. Please.
Thank you.
Thank you, Shelley.
I'll pass these along.
Okay, thanks. Is there anybody else that would like to? Yes, sir. Come ahead, please.
Discuss the whole business, would there be another opportunity to comment on that specifically, or is this
You want to discuss the revisions to Chapter 16 of the Land Use and Development Code?
Yeah.
We'll wait till that portion of our meeting. Thank you.
Thank you.
Anything else? All right. Thanks, folks. Moving on to the consent agenda portion of this evening's meeting. Item number 7 is to approve the 2025 warrants number 31 through 35, totaling $2,642,222.05. Anybody got anything?
Mr. Chair, I move we approve warrants 31 to 35 totaling $2,642,222.05
Great.
as presented.
Thank you, Mike.
Second?
Seconded by Craig. Any discussion, guys? None? All those in favor? 7-0. Motion carries. Okay, on to old business. Item number 8 is to approve revisions to Chapter 16 of the Land Use and Development Code. Bear with me for just a moment to get caught up here. Okay, so this is primarily in regards to our solar structures and everything that goes with them. The Presque Isle Planning Board held a public hearing on August 6, 2025 to obtain public comments on the Land Use and Development Code, Chapter 16, Sections 1, Article 1, Section 13, Section 8, I'm sorry, excuse me. Standards, Table for Zones, and Article 2, Section 12, Land Use Standards, Subsection L, Solar Electric Generation Facility. The planning board members made a motion forward the proposed revisions to the Land Use and Development Code to the City Council to hold a public hearing at their September 3rd, 2025 City Council meeting to obtain public comments on the proposed changes. From that, we had some questions about those proposed changes and asked the planning board to go back to work, I guess, if you will, and consider our suggestions and revisions. So that brings us to today, and Sonia, would you like me to keep going with, you want me to go through this
Miss-
line by line, or would you like me to call on Tim,
Mr.
or?
Yep, Mr. Chair, if you would like to have our economic development person come to the podium and explain the process to date.
I think that would be Good idea. Tim, it's your turn. Thank you. I didn't want to butcher your work here, so
Good luck.
I'll let you do it.
We'll make quick work of it. So we ran through it last time for the public hearing last month. You guys had some questions on the initial setback, which is slated at 1,200 feet. And it does stipulate from a paved road or from a dwelling. On that, you guys asked for some clarification and justification on why that number might be so much. I took it back to the planning board at our last meeting, and they presented me with information that they wanted to retain a pristine beauty, scenic vistas, those kind of items. So they elected not to change the number, and so forth, sent it back to you.
So they basically, so we asked for changes.
You asked for clarification, and there were no suggested changes, so I asked for clarification
Okay.
at that meeting.
We have someone from the planning board that would also
We do.
like to.
We have the planning board chair that would like to speak, I think.
Mr. Roop, the chair of the Presque Planning Board. Welcome.
Unfortunately, at the last planning board meeting, I was unable to attend, but I remember our discussions quite well. We have an awful lot of solar panels and things going into the city. It seems to be extraordinarily more prevalent here in Presque Isle than other communities. There's some concerns about the aesthetics of the town and the distance from residential. That's why the 1,200 feet was put into place. If I had a house, I wouldn't want the doggone things right outside my windows either. We also put in place some restrictions about buffering them with trees. 4 deep. If you go out onto the Kearble Road a few years ago, the state, as you get up over the top of the last rise, planted a bunch of trees. It for snow protection, to keep the snow from coming into the roads. It also blocks off a lot that you could see off in the distance, but that was a vista. But here, these things aren't a vista. So the recommendation was to have 4 rows of trees, softwood and some hardwood put in place to buffer these things. The planning board, as I understand, last Thursday decided to leave those in place. We had a long, hard discussion. We understand that solar panels seem to be an important part of what's going to power, but we can't sell power out of Aroostook County. We're basically locked here. If we sell power out of Aroostook County to Southern Maine, or to the NEPOOL group, as I remember them being called, you have to wheel it through Canada. Most of our power right now in Aroostook County comes from hydro. I think the thought is enough's enough in Presque Isle. That was the message I got basically from the planning board. We would like to see it slowed down and hidden and better managed. I think there could be some give if you were around a commercial building, but basically right now you're not going to be around a commercial building because most of it's ended up out in the agricultural area and the airport hazard zone. At this point, I stand beside their decision of last Thursday. I think that we should leave the recommendations as they are. If you folks feel free, that's your prerogative. We made the recommendation, and that's the reasons for those recommendations. We're having complaints from residents that that's what they see, and they don't want to see it anymore. So we put some things in there to put some distance between them. and also make sure that they're hidden. Thank you.
Great, thanks, Bruce.
Any questions?
I don't have a question. I have a statement, I guess. But
Okay.
so I think there's some good stuff in here in terms of trying to, like, I'm sympathetic towards residential concerns. The part that I get stuck on is, and I brought this up the last time it was here, shall not be sited within 1,200 feet of a residence or a paved roadway. That seems to be a standard that is designed to kill solar panels in the city. And until that is revised, which I thought I was clear last time, but maybe I wasn't, but until that is revised, I will not be supporting this ordinance.
But that was by design.
Right.
Like we said, we have plenty of solar panels in Presque. There are other communities that need to step up and have their fair share done too. You're also covering up a lot of agricultural ground. Agriculture is struggling in Aroostook County, I understand.
So-
I'm a
so
former
Bruce-
farmer.
With a 1,200-foot setback, though, it would take about 150 acres to site something. Wouldn't that kind of take up more agricultural land?
No, it would probably make them go look somewhere else. And there's lots of places in Aroostook County to site solar panels.
But, I
within
mean-
But within Presque, we have an overabundance of them. Every time you turn around, you see them. And
But I mean, you guys are the planning board, right? I
Yeah.
mean, this is something we need to plan for.
I understand. But we've got a lot of them here. What we're saying is, we're not against solar power, but let's send it somewhere else.
The complaints that you've gotten, have you mapped them as to where would those facilities that are being complained against be allowed now with not these changes, but more recent ones where
Possibly, but they would be covered up with trees. We made some recommendations that were never followed. We've got some solar panels that we wanted the fences covered up with slats or canvas or whatever, so they couldn't be seen. We have now put in there, we would like to see 4 rows of trees. We don't want to see them anymore. We've got plenty here in Presque. You can't turn around anywhere where you don't have solar panels. Other communities don't seem to have that same type of situation. Let's spread out the love. It's not saying that we want to see, our power comes from hydro. It doesn't come from the solar panel, but right now we're paying for it because you can't ship that electricity out of the state of Maine. Slow it down. And let's take a look. Doesn't mean this is in stone, but let's slow it down, especially in Presque. And then we go down the road and see what happens. We'll see if the connection to the southern part of the state and the rest of New England so that you can wheel that. It's expensive to wheel power through Canada, and it's going to get more so with the tariffs and the play back and forth. What we're saying is this ordinance will slow it down, and it needs to be. We've had people come in, I've had people stop me on the street and say, what are you going to do? We don't want to see any more.
what I'm saying is that there have been some fairly restrictive parameters put in over the past years. And if I had to bet, a very large majority of those that are complaining to you are fields that would not be allowed now.
No, I know of a field that there's a brand new solar panel going in that was agricultural ground right up until they put the solar panels in. No, that's not the case.
That's that's complaints I hear, the ones of within the town limits more or less.
Yeah, but right now we've limited it with our rules and regulations to agricultural lands and
That's what I'm saying, yeah.
yeah. But still, there are residents out there, and they don't want to see it.
They wanna run their lights though, right?
But they can run their lights. You've got fairly reasonable power. If we were charged what it would cost to bring in hydropower, I can remember when I started doing these types of things that the cheapest power in the state was in Aroostook County because we were using hydropower out of Canada. We have generation. We're not hooked to the rest of the state so that we can ship stuff.
Yeah,
It's,
it
we're
kills the
stuck,
fish,
we're stuck
so.
paying the price for solar power.
My 2 cents, if you're gonna put something this restrictive, it's almost a slap in the face to someone who's looking to develop, and you might as well just put a moratorium. Because they're gonna look through all that, and I mean, if that's truly the intent. Now, I don't know if maybe something would be looked at that personal use is allowed, and I'm not up on where these guidelines begin and.
I don't believe this is commercial.
Right.
These are large solar sections and they look like heck.
But if someone wanted to put in something to generate their, well, for lack of a better argument, their own large farm, you know, to supplement their $1,000 a month electric bill, would these same parameters be in place?
So if it's an accessory use, no, because that's an accessory use. Generally speaking, it wouldn't be an overly large field, but you doing it at your home is an accessory use to your home. So those are still permitted.
But if it's a small business of some type.
If it's an accessory use, such as MMG did, then it's still an accessory use.
Okay, so that doesn't matter whether it's residential or not.
Right.
Yeah, I guess MMG would be a good example.
Right, we may negotiate in some extra buffering and pieces like that to help, but generally speaking, it's still an accessory use.
So that field does not apply to.
I think it still went through those original parameters, because that one is big enough, but again, it would come down to like how big that field actually is.
Any other questions? Thank you.
Thank you, Bruce.
Anything else from me, council? I think you guys have some gentlemen that would like to speak.
Yep. Well, there was a feller in the back that wanted to address us on this.
Everyone. I'm Rob Kipp. I live in Presque, and I'm one of the organizers of the Aroostook Climate Group. We're a volunteer group of residents who get together every month to discuss climate issues in the county. And we were very concerned to read about the planning board's recently proposed code changes mandating enormous setbacks for new solar installations. The proposal of 1,200-foot setbacks, almost a quarter mile, was certainly too high. And while we were glad to see that the City Council requested a revised proposal, we worry that the original's inordinate scale signals the city's desire to discourage new solar installations by placing unreasonable burdens on their siting. Now I just want to say, this is from the official statement that our group put out, but we don't suspect it anymore. It's confirmed by the planning board themselves that is the goal, is to not have any new solar go in Presque Isle. First, we do not support any mandatory setbacks beyond what would already apply in the code. Large setbacks are unnecessary and a burden on solar, which we need. Setbacks need a good reason. For example, wind installations have high setbacks due to the turbine's risk of falling over, however unlikely. But solar panels don't have those kinds of safety concerns. Second, we would urge the city to take a long view of the changes represented by solar. While part of the code is about preserving a certain local character, we recognize that there was a time when telephone poles would have changed that character. Even potato fields weren't always here. And these solar installations are in keeping with Aroostook's tradition of producing for Maine and for the region. They are solar farms, after all. Climate change is going to bring a lot of changes, and it already has been. Presque Isle should remain a part of preparing for these changes, of equipping us for the future. Aroostook County stands to play a big role in providing clean energy to Maine, which will create jobs locally. Encouraging more solar farms will help Presque Isle. If the city decides to mandate additional setbacks despite all this, we found that other towns, Damariscotta, Canton, Rumford, have ones around 50 feet. which would be in keeping with other setbacks already present in Presque Isle's code. And as a last note, I just wanted to say that I myself live across from a solar farm, and it's fine. Thank you very much for considering Aroostook Climate Group's input in this very important matter.
Thank you, Rob. Appreciate that.
Is Lewis here? Lewis is here. Would there be data that would be relatively easily obtained, seeing how much tax revenue we get in non-accessory use panels, like these larger ones that are not for a home, or maybe you already know?
I don't already know, but it's certainly available, what we have here, and how much it is accessory.
I think it's in the $240,000-$250,000 range to memory.
In tax revenue.
In revenue to memory.
Revenue, I think you're on the right
Yeah.
track there. In total value, it's really.
Yeah.
The state has exempted them, we are getting reimbursed 50% of our tax, revenue that we would normally have.
Yeah, 'cause it's under the Betty stuff.
Actually, it's a complete different solar exemption
Oh,
law.
okay.
But yes, it's like that.
Thank you, Lewis. Guys, thoughts?
Honestly, I think 1,200, I think 1,200 is way too much, without some sort of, stipulation, like from my perspective, you know, I think for larger highways, things like that, a larger setback makes sense due to glare. But I think that, you know, based on the numbers that we've just talked about, you know, and climate change in general, I think that, you know, the planning board coming forward with a stance that we're just not going to allow it anymore isn't reasonable. And I mean, that's essentially what we're saying here. That's my opinion.
Anybody else?
I think it's far too restrictive, and not replicated anywhere in the state. Like almost every other community is in the 50 to 100 foot range from the center line of the road. Our plan board needs to plan for the future and not take a hard stance on how they feel about something that is happening. I mean, if we leave this at 1,200 feet, I bet we're gonna disqualify 80% of the land in town. It's foolish. And then 1,200 feet means you have 1,200 feet of utility poles that you got to look at, which to me that's worse to look at than panels personally.
Yeah, what I'd like to see is if we're gonna talk, I mean, you know, I understand where they're coming from, but if we're gonna talk about setbacks like that, I wanna use road classification, as a way to maybe categorize that a little bit. If you're gonna have various setbacks based on the road classification, that's fine. We can take a look at that, but just an all-out overarching 1,200 feet isn't.
Well, it's 1,200 feet plus 4 rows of trees, and
Yeah.
any entrance has to go around a corner so you can't see the entrance. It
Yeah.
seems drastically overkill.
So are we looking to table it and gather more information and work with the planning board to come up with something a little bit better?
Is that the, no.
The rest of it looks, I mean, I don't have a problem, I'm with you, I don't have a problem, the rest of it looks fine to me, it's just that one sticking point for me.
Do you think 4 rows is necessary? 4 rows of trees? It seems excessive.
I don't have an opinion, I'd have to go look.
Yeah, it would depend on the tree, wouldn't it, and how full they are.
Yeah, I guess. It's quite an expense, I bet.
Yeah.
Would you rather have houses built or solar farms built? Because you're using up a lot of decent land where you could have homes put solar panels.
I think there's room for all.
Yeah. Okay.
So, if we table it, are there actually going to be, I mean, we've all given some feedback.
Well,
are there going to be actual revisions, or should we just vote on it?
My suggestion, if we choose to table it, my suggestion would be to have those that are concerned about the things they don't like, the way this is proposed, to perhaps join in with the planning board on one of their meetings and bring your thoughts together and try to present something that can be brought back to council that we can vote on.
Yeah, that's fair.
Well, then, Mr. Chair, comment that I made earlier, I would like to make that motion. That we choose to table it and work with the planning board and try to find some feasible alternative to what we have here.
Second.
Motion made by Hank to table this item and seconded by Tim. Any further discussion?
I wouldn't table it. I would kick it back to the planning board, personally.
Well, we've got a motion and a second. I mean, is that the right way to do this? Or do you
Well, I
just,
don't know.
or do you
I
just?
guess I don't think, I mean, I know what you're saying, but I don't think it really matters. We table it for a month and just with the direction that they need to come back with something else, we can do that. But I think if they don't come back with something else, then the folks that feel strongly about it could give us some opinions as to what the setbacks would be and the changes would be, and they could bring that forward, hand it to Tim or Sonia.
Just so you guys are aware, due to scheduling, you probably won't see this until like December, January maybe. So just due to scheduling.
No, I understand. I can't imagine there's gonna be any solar farms going up, once the ground starts to freeze.
No, I think that's reasonable, and I mean, it's gonna take time to work something out, so. I've asked Kim to ship me the planning board's email addresses so we can get this stuff squared away.
Okay. Okay, so we'll just table it, we won't put a date on it, we'll ask that you bring input, if you feel strongly that they ought to be changed, tell us what, and I guess the only direction that I would just chime in was, I'd feel better, if we had peer communities that had something they had done that we could kind of see that we're in the mix of what other communities have decided, and so that we're not an outlier, but we're not, we don't have to be the same, but we could, look at what's working elsewhere.
Yeah, that'd be part of the research I'd do on this.
Okay. I'm gonna put that there.
Okay, so we have a motion on the floor made by Hank and seconded by Tim to table this. All of those in favor of tabling? All of those opposed? 6-1. Motion carries. Okay, moving along to new business. Item number 9 is to approve an order to abate 41 Wilson Street.
Mr. Chair, if I may interject?
Yes, please, thank you.
9 through 12 are requests for council approval to designate these properties as a nuisance
Yes.
and dangerous to life and a dangerous to life property. And we request an order the property owner to correct all conditions and authorize code enforcement to assess fines.
So this is 9 to,
I
where?
agree.
9 to 11?
9 through 12.
9 through 12, yeah.
In order to abate 41 Wilson Street, 20 Lincoln Street, 227 State Street, and 16 Judd Street. Same for all of them. So with that,
And Tim is here to speak to that and prepared to speak to that as well.
Evening again. Before you have pictures. Just a quick rundown. We do have the Martins that, generally this would be conducted as a hearing between you and the property owner, just for reference. 41 Wilson has a bad foundation. It was, for our best knowledge, it was once a foreclosure. They haven't acted upon the foreclosure. They've left the building sitting. It's been reason for numerous calls to the PD for break-ins, which substantiated or not, PD has to go look. But we've got a bad foundation, roof is leaking and deteriorating, and they're unwilling to do any work to it. So we'd just like to move forward with it and remove the building if we get to that point. With this order to abate, we'll have a little bit more leverage on forcing them to either comply with fixing it or we'll actually remove it.
Okay. So I guess just, probably these are all a little different in what they're doing, and tell us what's going on, then you can take them one by one, probably, yeah.
Tim, by abate, you mean remove the structure?
Generally, that's what results in that order.
Okay.
It really depends. I have spoken with Eric, and they do have a plan of correction. We need some more details on that, but they do have a start of a plan of correction anyway. So we've got some good direction on that one. But 20 Lincoln, 41 Wilson, and
Okay, well, let's just stick to 41 Wilson. That's
Okay.
the first one we have, right?
right, 41 Wilson. We have no contact with the owner. Management company sometimes will show up and do things, but their management company is not going to repair the building. They're simply preserving what is there until they can sell it on the market.
Okay, so, all right, so this one is owned by who, we think?
George
so-
Michael Jr.
Record owner is George Michaels Jr.
Who is the management company acting on behalf?
I believe it's the USDA, but we don't have confirmation on that.
Okay.
Okay,
Like
So
we should.
something like that would even classify for a first-time home buyer? I mean,
No, actually, and you can't see it in one of these because these were the pictures that we took when we filed this. But there's at one point we were actually inside because it was an unsecured building, and the roof in one of the bedrooms has deteriorated so bad that it rains inside.
yeah, so
Like it
there's
just-
really no bones, there's nothing left.
okay,
I mean, at one time it was good; it could have been saved, but it's also got a bad foundation. Again, hard to tell in these pictures, but the wall is caving in about 6 inches at ground level right now.
okay, so,
Mr. Chair, based upon the evidence presented in the testimony of the code enforcement officer concerning the conditions of the premises owned by George Michaels Jr. located at 41 Wilson Street, I hereby move that the council judge this property to be annoyance and dangerous to life or property, that the council make and record an order stating the owner shall, within 30 days of the service of this order, abate all conditions creating a nuisance or dangerous condition of satisfaction of the code officer, that should the owner fail to comply within the specified time, the owner shall be assessed a civil penalty of $100 per day, and the city council further directs the city manager to cause the structure to be demolished and removed. The cost of such demolition and removal shall be charged against the real estate upon which the structure sets, and shall constitute a lien on such real estate.
Great, thank you, Mike.
I'll second.
Motion made by Mike and seconded by Hank. Any discussion, guys? Seeing none, all of those in favor? 7-0. Thank you, Kim, on that one.
So I believe the next
How
one you have
about,
is
yeah,
20
let's
Lincoln.
move on to, number 10 here. Let's talk about 20 Lincoln Street.
Okay. Again, you guys have photos of it. This one's a little bit different. As far as we can tell, the owner moved away, left the house in a state of disrepair, and doesn't plan on coming back to attend to it. Routinely overgrown year after year on the lawn. Dilapidation, lack of maintenance, all that good stuff. We've got, in one of the pictures that you guys have, there's a bush growing out of the gutter. So we do suspect, we've never been in this one, so we can't confirm, but we do suspect from what we can see on the outside, some foundational issues with this also. So
And no response from the owner at all?
no, I don't even think they received, they didn't accept the service. So we send certified mail to notify them of this hearing, and we've sent multiple letters. Anytime we send something certified, it's not received. The regular letters don't generally come back, so, but certifieds do not. They always come back.
and the owner of this one is,
Herb Williamson.
Yeah, Herbert Williamson.
okay,
It's on the back of the page.
yeah, no, I just want to confirm this, so that's fine to say it.
What's your thoughts on this one, guys?
Same thing?
Yep. I would entertain a motion similar to the one we just had for item number 9.
Well, Mr. Chairman, I would move that the council judge this property at 20 Lincoln Street be adjudged a nuisance and dangerous to life or property, that the council make and record an order stating the owner, Herbert Williamson, within 30 days shall be served this order, abate all conditions, creating the nuisance or dangerous condition to the satisfaction of the code enforcement officer, that should the owner fail to comply within the specified time, the owner shall be assessed a civil penalty of $100 a day, and The city council further directs city manager to cause the structure to be demolished and removed. The cost of such demolition and removal shall be charged against the real estate upon which the structure sets and shall constitute a lien on the such real estate.
Second.
Motion made by Craig and seconded by Tim. Further discussion? All those in favor? 7-0, all right. Moving on to 227 State Street.
227 State Street has some foundational issues. Also, you can see that the shingles are in need of replacement, although no current leaking. They're there. The biggest concern is the foundation. It is collapsing I say collapsing. It's an old stone rock wall, and there's some pieces that are leaning in well beyond level and plumb, all that good stuff. So I have had conversations with Eric on this property. They do have a plan of correction for it. I would recommend hearing from them before you make a motion and vote. But similar story, just to keep things moving along, I'm asking that you order the abate.
So is all of the foundation rock wall? Because there's parts of it on the outside that look like it's actually concrete foundation.
So there are sections that look like they're concrete on the outside, but inside, for the most part, it is rock wall. And there's 2 areas that are of concern.
This was is a rooming house?
Yes.
Is that still functioning as a rooming house?
Due to loopholes, kind of. But there also is a separate apartment that is not affected by the lodging license.
Is this also one that we've discussed before in
Yes.
regards to improvements and taxes and everything else?
Yes.
So you recommend hearing from them? Are they here today?
Yes. We have Eric and Fern.
We are closing the building down.
Come on up, Eric, tell us what your plan is. Please, thank you.
Yes, we are relocating the tenants for now because the building does also need a furnace, and we were making plans to put that in, but at this stage, it doesn't make sense to put a furnace in if we don't know if there's going to be a building here in a few months. So right now, we're relocating our tenants to another building, and we're going to be in communication with Tim about trying to find somebody to fix that and just do the best we can. But we'll provide details to Tim.
So how long do you think it's going to take?
I don't know. I know it's not going to be before winter, so it would be like the early part of next year would be the soonest we could get to it. But it would be vacant in the meantime. They're not going to be anybody living in there. There was four units rented, and the people are being relocated by November 1st to either other buildings or they're finding other housing arrangements. So
We had previously discussed some properties that you were possibly going to list or anything. Is this one of them?
it was one we had mentioned. I had mentioned to my father, but we had not made a decision yet on it. I don't know if that's even an option at this point because, houses are not going to sell very fast and probably want some kind of results before any type of sale would even probably begin to materialize. So it's a possibility that it could be, but I mean that really doesn't fix the problem. That just kind of pushes it along. So
Right. Well, and that's going to lead to my next question. It says the roof does need to be replaced. How bad is a roof, and would it survive actually weight support of snow during the winter?
yeah, it does. I mean, it doesn't leak right now or anything. It just at some point we were planning to put a new roof on it. Just we haven't got to that point yet. Some of the shingles have, deteriorated around the edges and stuff. But as of right now, it's not an issue with like leaking or any kind of weight. We did repair the back roof. We put metal on that, but that's just an extension off the back of the building. The main building itself is I don't know what the pitch is, but it's a steeper pitch and it has a few gables and things like that.
Tim, going back to the potential sale, would these conditions, I guess, how would a property like that, if you were to find a buyer that wants to buy it as is?
So if you guys issue the order to abate, they would have to comply with it.
The potential purchaser?
The new person, yeah.
Or,
The buyer
okay.
would still have to comply with that, which they may want to, may not want to. When you issue it, we will actually file it in the registry with that order. So anybody that title searches the property
Okay.
will see that.
like a lien kind of on it or something similar.
So it's really just information there, it doesn't, but they'll be able to see it.
So now what we're talking about, just giving them some extra time to come up with a plan before.
Potentially. So the order would be 30 days, but we can work with them, my office can work with them on potentially stretching that out a little bit. Last conversation that we had, they were looking for contractors and other things to potentially do the repairs, so that may have to materialize before. I mean, obviously, we don't want to see this go on for years, but giving them 3 months, 6 months may be okay to find and put those pieces together.
Tim, has there been an order to abate on this building before, or has the city condemned it before?
Not to my knowledge.
Okay.
I have never done so.
So, Tim, I got a question for you. The current issues with the foundation, being our code officer, how do you visualize those issues to be remedied? It's a pretty good size house with rock, brick, stone stuff kind of foundation. I mean, you're talking to do this and do it right, you're essentially jacking the whole house off of that foundation and doing an entirely new foundation.
In a perfect world, yes. In my opinion, there are 2 sections that are starting to collapse in. And if generally a little bit of extra would be taken, but those 2 areas could be repaired while the other areas are actually still stable.
And the owner acknowledges issues with the roof, but you don't have any issues with the roof?
Oh, yeah.
You don't have issues?
I don't know that there's any structural.
Okay.
We don't. We see
I'm
a
just
couple
thinking,
of signs,
so
but-
I'm looking at this with a list of work that it's going to need to bring this building back into compliance with anything. The foundation, the roof, letting it sit unheated for a whole winter. I'm kind of, Eric, do you think you can pull this building back into shape, or are we just playing wishy-washy here for the next 6 months?
I don't know, we did get 2 people come and look at it. One I never heard back from. The other one, I got a quote that was quite high. I don't know, where funds would come for that.
Okay, because our code officer is suggesting that this property be abated, and I'm trying to get a feel on what you think we should do.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know myself personally. I mean, we're gonna continue to try to get somebody to look at it and give us quotes, and if it's something that we can do, we can do. If not, we'll be in contact with Tim to let him know that, it's just.
I'm wondering what kind of further hazards this building could pose, say, in the middle of July, when it's full of raccoons trying to stay warm and anything else that might be trying to stay warm or anything else.
We'll be securing it. It will be
Right.
secured and vacated as well.
So, with the repairs that we're talking about, Tim, and your best educated guess, 60 days, if we chose to give 60 days to get these repairs done or get some quotes or something motivated, would the property sustain that?
Oh yeah, I'm not fearing that this foundation would collapse tomorrow or within 60 days. Like it appeared to be more stable than that. But the stone is loose.
Yeah.
So a hard rain could change that. Snow load in the right place could change that.
Right, because all those rocks need to do is wiggle and that thing's coming down.
Right.
Yeah.
This property's been in front of us, I think, within the last 8 to 10 years. I'm just trying to find it.
Does this property pose any safety issues or concerns to adjoining properties? Like, if it,
Potentially, I mean, it's a-
if the frost caved this foundation wall and the building half tipped over, is there a chance of it contacting an adjoining building or a neighboring property?
I don't suspect so because I don't believe that it would
Okay.
tip halfway over. I think a section of it would collapse, but I don't know that it would. The section isn't big enough to constitute a whole building falling over.
Is this property insured?
Yes.
So even if you did have a much more imminent threat, if you will, of something like that happening, would the same process still?
The process would be same, the leniency on the 60 days or time to come up with a plan of correction and collect pieces, quotes and things like that may not be so graceful.
Okay, so we would still have to justify that with an emotion, rather than just saying a meeting. I mean,
Well, working in this field, I know that everything is really short anyway. I mean, we even have a hard time trying to find subcontractors and stuff like that, so. And I know this has been enforced before, and I know it feels like we're just like kicking this piece down the road again.
Well, I mean, I guess just from a practicality standpoint, I don't, with the amount of work needed, I wouldn't see that getting done until the snow's gone.
Yeah.
I mean,
Potentially.
just being.
So
practical.
on that front of it, it would more, unless things change, if it stays status quo and they delivered in 60 days quotes that were acceptable to them, signed contracts, proof to us in the code office that work would start at a certain date, then we would probably let it go. If the issue is ordered, we have that flexibility. If it's not issued, we come back to you and it's 30 days of notice serving, all that good stuff. Whereas if it turns out in the spring that the work doesn't start, we can move forward with the demolition.
We're starting the ticker, starting the clock.
Mr. Chair, if I may. Thank you, Tim. My concern from a community standpoint is that there will be people in there throughout the winter trying to get warm. If during your deliberations you can keep that in mind, that I believe that people will attempt to enter that, and it does pose a safety risk. So if you would just factor that into your deliberations, I would appreciate it.
Duly noted, thank you.
Just further, this is one of the 4 properties that we discussed 3 or 4 months ago, that I think there was over 300 police calls. There were drug overdoses. I believe there was worse things that happened there.
Yep.
So
all I got to say about it, guys, is I would acknowledge our code enforcement officer's recommendation at this point,
So, Sonia, I'm sorry.
and consider it.
The concern of someone inhabiting it, whether the code issue is repaired or resolved or not, you're still gonna have the same issue of the winter, correct? So, I don't know that would pertain to any sort of decision, I guess.
Oh, whether we chose to evade it or not, we're still gonna have that issue.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And maybe that's just a separate topic.
Counselor, I just would like for the record to state that I do believe it would be inhabited. No fault necessarily to the owners, but there is a precedent for vacant buildings to be entered, and it does create a safety issue for citizens and a visibility issue for our code enforcement officers. And that we, if it does sit over the winter, I would like the record to show that the owners need to make absolute certain that nobody's in that building at any time.
Yeah, absolutely. And I understand people will be trying to get into this place to seek shelter, stay warm, and that would be no fault of the owner, and I understand that. But in the uneventful case or unfortunate case that somebody did gain access and was making efforts to stay warm and, God forbid, burned the place down, or was trapped in there, or puts a neighboring property at risk. And we had an opportunity to do something about it, but passed it up. I have a hard time with that. So, I don't know what the other guys here think, but I think we should listen to our code officer. And
okay, it took me a
Easy
second
advice.
to find the information. 2014, no heat. 2014, electrical issues. 2019, rodent structural and electrical issues. 2019, structural, electrical, fire safety, means of egress, plumbing issues. 2020, garbage structure, fire safety issues. April 2020, garbage, unregistered vehicles, fire safety issues. November 20, building was condemned. April 6, 2022, garbage, unregistered vehicles, filth, structural, fire safety. March 2024, garbage and debris, security, structural, plumbing, and fire safety issues. April 2025, unregistered vehicles. May 2025, lodging license issues. So we did condemn this building 5 years ago. So. Mr. Chair, I make a motion that based on the evidence presented in the testimony of the code enforcement officer concerning the condition of the premises owned by Ferdinand Martin located at 227 State Street, that the council adjudge this property to be a nuisance and dangerous to life and property, that the council make and record an order stating that the owner shall, within 30 days of service of this order, abate all conditions creating a nuisance or dangerous conditions to the satisfaction of the code officer, that should the owner fail to comply with the specified time, the owner shall be assessed a civil penalty of $100 per day, and the city council further directs the city manager to cause the structure to be demolished and removed. The cost of such demolition and removal shall be charged against the real estate upon which the structure sets and shall constitute a lien on such real estate.
Very well, thank you, Mike. We have a motion on the table,
Second.
seconded by Tim. Anything else to discuss, guys, on this one? All right, seeing none, all of those in favor? 7-0.
No, I need to
Oh.
withhold this because of conflict of interest.
Okay, yes, all right, sorry, noted. One abstention, Craig. 6-0-1. Moving on to the next one. Approve an order to abate 16 Judd Street. Tim, let us know what you think.
So this is probably a little bit more preemptive than some of the other ones have been. Obviously, 16 Judd has been on dockets for a little bit now. As you can see from the pictures, the house is in terrible condition. And this is just to move forward and make sure that it either gets repaired in a timely manner after the tenants have been removed, or we'll demo it. This building was actually had an order to abate shortly before I started. It was turned over to the owners with the intent to fix up the small building in the back. So the bottom right-hand picture shows it's the backside of one of the small buildings. That building was always supposed to go away. It has not managed to do so yet, but in the event that we need to remove the buildings, both of them will go away.
And by owner, you mean Rebecca Tremblay?
Yes.
Okay.
Is she here tonight?
Not that I know of.
Okay.
So what's the current status of that order? It's not fulfilled, so, right, so we issued an order?
My understanding, so when the council orders, issues an order to abate, we file it in the registry. And my understanding was that, the owners came before the council and made, negotiated that they would fix the buildings up, and that abate was removed from the registry. So, basically, they submitted an acceptable plan, and in turn, wiped that order out.
When
That
was
is,
that?
2020 is what it says.
yeah, it was just before I started, because I saw the tail end of it,
Okay.
so. I started in 21.
All right, Mr. Chair, I make a motion that the council adjudge these properties to be a nuisance and dangerous to life or property. That the council make and record an order stating that the owner shall, within 30 days of service of this order, abate all conditions creating a nuisance or dangerous condition to the satisfaction of the code enforcement officer. That should the owner fail to comply with the specified time, the owner shall be assessed a civil penalty of $100 per day, and the city council further directs the city manager to cause the structure to be demolished or removed. The cost of such demolition and removal shall be charged against the real estate upon which the structure sets and shall constitute a lien on such real estate.
Second.
Thank you, Tim and Harold. Any further discussion, guys? All right.
So hold it.
Oh, good.
So,
Hank's got something.
look, I understand where this is going, and I completely agree with what needs to be done. But there is still a human life that does exist there, right? What are we doing with him?
I don't know, I thought the question was on the property. I assume that public
But the
safety would.
person's on the property.
Yeah.
Tim,
Public-
can you help us with this?
So, I believe it was at the beginning of the last week, I got a quick update from it. He was not served in a timely manner. On the original, going back to last month's council meeting, he was supposed to have a hearing and be removed from the property. He was not served in a timely manner for that, so, and this has nothing to do with the city, but he is expected in court, from my understanding, on Friday, which that hearing will be, and then if it's a judge so that the way we expect it to be, it'll be about the middle of the month before they actually have a writ of possession and can remove him physically.
Mr. Courier, you're here, right? Best case scenario, what do you think, you know, the day he would be served and he removed would be?
I spoke with the owner's attorney, Mr. Harding, and the original problem that Tim touched on was that he was not served 10 days prior to the hearing. So they had to start the process over. October 3rd is the hearing date for the eviction. Assuming they get a judgment, a writ of possession would issue 7 days later to the owner. That has to be served on the tenant. The tenant then has 48 hours to get out from the date of service. And if he does not leave, then he would be guilty of criminal trespass and would be arrested and removed. My best and most optimistic timeline would be about the 15th of October. So it could be from the 15th through the 20th or 23rd or something like that, depending on, keep in mind, the court has to issue the order, mail it to the attorney. He mails it to Holton, to the sheriff's department. They mail it to a deputy. The deputy takes it and serves it. So there's quite a procedural hurdle there.
So Rick, if somebody's life has been threatened, I guess, by an
Well, that's a
individual.
criminal matter that the police would get involved with, criminal threatening, that kind of thing.
Okay.
That's not a civil matter, that's, you know.
So
Gotcha.
would Tim's motion stand if he were to make it effective October 16th,
I think the motion as stated should go forward.
as stated?
Yeah, the building is in terrible condition.
Okay.
It's not just the tenant who's actually living in his pickup truck. The building itself needs to be demolished. So I would suggest that you go forward as you have on the other properties.
Very well.
Do we have a second to Tim's motion?
Yes.
Yeah, it was made, motion made by Tim and seconded by Harold, right? Yep.
Real quick, you had said that they had reported this to the PD, and what became of that?
So, we've reported it many times, but just recently, when he decided to put dolls out after the death threat and all that stuff, and now, you know, the mother's moving because it's very stressful, and Kim is now missing work. You know, I work with her. Now, we went to the PD 2 days ago, and we put up trespassing signs facing him in the ground, and he was served trespassing. But they say they can't do anything else. They can't do anything else until the sheriff does what they have to do, until the courts do what they have to do, until we keep making calls, until something actually happens, until something physical, something this, something that, something, they're just gonna keep driving by.
Yeah.
That's what happens. Nothing is happening.
Right.
That's the problem.
So
So I have friends living in fear.
So I guess what I don't understand is, so the criminal threatening, why is that not something in and of itself?
Well, we don't have proof, it's hearsay or
Oh.
whatever, you know? So he hasn't laid a hand on them, you know, but they're living in fear.
Right, no, I
You know what I
understand.
mean? He's growling at them at night, he's, you know, saying things. I've even talked to some of the neighbors in the neighborhood
Yeah.
the other day. I was talking to them because I know the neighbors. So I'm talking to them
Right.
that I've known for years, and they bring their grandchildren inside when he's walking by.
Yeah.
They're all scared.
Yeah.
Nobody wants to live there.
I'd move the motion.
Yeah, so let's take care of the building
So-
if for sure.
I
Nope.
do have one small,
I move the motion.
And when
motion's
we move the
been
motion,
made
when does this happen?
and seconded.
Does this happen
We have
like
to
right
vote on it
away?
now.
Does this
So we
get
have to vote on
demolished
it?
Yep.
in 15 days? Are we looking 30 days? When does this happen? When can I tell my friend that she's gonna be safe?
We're working on it, Shelley.
Well, it sounds like, I speak up, but it sounds like you worked on, 6 years ago, when this was originally when it was made 6 years ago. And now we were in 2025, and we're bringing up this information, oh, well, it was abated then, there's gonna be another 6 years. She's my friend too, and that's why I'm here supporting
Cool.
Shelley.
We
Say
understand.
you're working on it, but allegedly you've been working on it for 5 years.
Sorry, I mean no disrespect. I move the motion. Let's vote on
Yeah,
demolishing
we
this
have a
building.
motion on the floor. All of those in favor? 7-0.
I mean no disrespect. I want to try to move forward with it.
The stuff that we gotta do, guys, it's
We'll explain to you afterwards
Oh,
what the
okay.
all
process is.
procedure, it's stuff, I mean, we,
Yep, no, that's okay. I just don't understand.
Yeah.
Sorry.
No, that's understandable. We're with you, trust me. We
Yeah,
are not
sure.
in
The
any way
we're-
trying to
we're
drag it out,
just
trust me.
as-
Yeah.
discouraged and disgusted. Okay, moving on, to hopefully something that's a little more upbeat and uplifting for us. We're looking for an update on our tourism from Kim Smith. Kim, tell us about all the good things we've got going on for.
Good evening, council. And it is good stuff,
Right.
actually.
I'm looking forward to it.
So you would have gotten the MPX map in your council packet. This is something that the Tourism Council gets on a quarterly basis. And what this particular one shows, this is the most recent quarterly report for the period of May through August of this year. And the numbers are really promising. The number of requests for information that we received are shown in red on the map, and those go into the Northern Maine Development Commission office. Judy Dinsmore handles them, and then these people may request packets of information about the county. And those numbers, the actual packets that were mailed out, is shown in green on the map. So our numbers are up, and I'm very encouraged by that. So for this period that I'm reporting on here, we received 2,739 inquiries for information about visiting Aroostook County. That is up from 2,150 in the same period of 2024. 380 packets were sent out during that quarter, and that's up from 211 packets sent in the same quarter of last year. You will see that every single state except Hawaii had information requested, and we also got requests from Canada and Germany. So this is better news, being that we got requests of those numbers, but the actual number of inquiries from specific states themselves even doubled. So that means that our efforts are being fruitful, and we all know that Aroostook County has a lot to offer, so it's great that other people are sitting up and noticing.
Yeah.
This comes out quarterly, and I will be bringing it back to you on a regular basis. Our primary markets, if you look at the numbers on this map, are Maine, New York, Pennsylvania, which had over 200 inquiries each, and then also Florida, Texas, Ohio, and Illinois, each with more than 100 inquiries each. Any questions on this?
That's great.
Neat.
Yeah, good news.
I've heard relatively consistent interest just in conversation from people in Texas. Is there anything particular that they're finding attractive? Because it's kind of a complete opposite.
It really is.
market.
Yeah, and
So
I
maybe
can't,
that's why.
I can't explain it. I'm happy about it. I can't explain it. I will tell you that we've just reprinted the snowmobile maps, and we have printed the ATV maps. Those are all going to be going out at the upcoming shows. We have 4 shows scheduled. One is a sportsman show. I think at least 2 of the others are snowmobile, maybe all 3 of them. But I don't know if we're getting ATV and snowmobilers from Texas, but the fact that they want to visit here is great. I don't know if I can get more information for you. If I can, I'll let you know.
Just curious.
Yeah, one thing we did with the Presque Snowmobile Club, we last year went online for the first time, so people could join the club online, and the people from out of state, that was a huge thing, and so we just went live with the 25-26 form yesterday. So if you want to join the snowmobile club here in Presque, you can do it on our Facebook page through a link.
We just finished the revisions for the county guide as well. And the county guide goes out in all of these packets. When Councilman Green and I traveled down to North Carolina earlier this year to go to a convention and trade show for antique car enthusiasts, we took how many of them with us?
Well, I don't know, about 350 pounds worth, I think, was what
Yeah,
was
yeah,
on
yeah.
the boxes.
That's how it,
So
that's
there
how
was-
it felt. Yeah.
We came back with about 30 books.
Yeah, I think we took.
So,
I think
we
we
gave
took
out a
2
lot.
cartons. I think we took 2 cartons, and we only came back with about 30. So, the interest in Maine was amazing, even there, and to see it in person at one of those trade shows was very touching because all kinds of people were coming up and saying, "Oh, I've always wanted to go to Maine, or I've been to Maine before, and I really want to come back." And we go to Maine all the time. We love it. So. It was really great, and we have, for that particular show, we had a map of Maine behind us, and we had a potato pin, if you've ever seen the spud pins. We had a spud pin where Presque was, so when they said, "Now, where are you from?" we just follow the potato. So it was kind of cute and very well received. But I hope this information is useful to you and shows you some impact, and I'll be back with more information.
Super. Thank you, Kim.
Thanks, Kim.
All right, moving on to item number 14. We're looking to schedule a public hearing to amend Chapter 62, the Consumer Fireworks Ordinance. Looking to schedule this for November 5th, 2025.
Mr. Chair, I move we schedule a public hearing to amend Chapter 62 Consumer Fireworks Ordinance at the November 5th, 2025 council meeting.
I'll second it.
Thank you, Mike. Seconded by everybody.
Everybody?
Hank. All those in favor? 7-0. All right, very well.
Is there something specific that has struck a nerve or anything on the fireworks end? Or can that even be discussed right now?
It-
Just
Yeah,
30-second blip.
Mr. Chair, if I may. So a citizen has requested that we review the ordinance for out-of-town and out-of-city limits fireworks, and make sure that nuisance fireworks are not tolerated. So this issue requires a great deal of discussion and we can go over more detail in November.
Nope, that's.
Thank you.
All right, so moving on to item number 15. To accept the bid for the evaluation of building number 401, the IP building on the industrial park.
And Mr. Chair,
Yes.
our airport director is here to make a presentation on
Fantastic.
this.
Scott, it's your turn.
Thank you very much, Scott Wardwell, Airport Director. The next 3 agenda items on tonight's agenda actually involve the Presque International Aerospace Research Park. There are a number of new people that are on City Council that might not even really know the background behind the Presque International Aerospace Research Park. So I wanted to start tonight's proceedings really with providing some background. So I'm going to run through this, and with your permission, I usually kind of do these solo, but I think there is a perception that out there that these projects just kind of are thought up in my head, and there isn't people who are asking for these projects and not supporting these projects. So with your permission, once I've run through my presentation, I wanted to bring Carl Hoos up. He's the president of Vault Enterprises, who is involved with hypersonic research, and actually will be our first tenant in the Aerospace Research Park. I do apologize for not using the proper name for the Aerospace Park. This presentation was actually given a while ago before we named it, but you can change the slide, Eric, if you would. So I really want to kind of go over the whole plan for the park, and then talk about phase one, which is underway now, and maybe provide some justification why we're even considering this in northern Maine and in Presque Isle. Now, with this item, I don't want to give the impression that this is by far the best place in the United States to do this, in that we won't have to work hard and people will just beat a path to our door. That's not really the case. It's things like aerospace parks are very competitive across the United States. I do believe that Presque Isle has a reasonably good shot at making this successful, and hopefully, as I go through that, a lot of you folks will feel that way as well. And then we'll close the little presentation out as we kind of talk about phase two. And these three items that we're going to talk about tonight are really part of what I define as phase two. The aerospace park really is a 70-acre site that is on the portion of the airport that really since 1961 hasn't saw a lot of redevelopment. You might even argue it's kind of a area of the airport that has been significantly underutilized. Not that it hasn't been utilized, and the people who utilize it obviously would potentially like to consider continue to utilize it. However, it's not necessarily the best use of this very critical airport property. Go ahead, Eric. Conceptually, the aerospace park, once fully built out, will include 11 buildings, and really the buildings that are listed there are actual buildings that the size of exist at other aerospace parks. So this kind of gives you a feel of the layout. Now this is Scott Wardwell, taking a couple days and just throwing things on an aerial map. We really need to sit down and plan this out, look at the financials associated with this, make sure that we're putting streets in the right location, the utilities, so on and so forth.
Scott, is that what like the second one of these is about?
Yes.
Okay.
That's it. That's right. The master plan will actually kind of take this conception and might even throw it out. Part of the master plan process for this research park will bring actual stakeholders to Presque for a 2-day get together to really discuss what we want the park to look like, what we want it to do. My preference is that the park not just be kind of a business park where we build these buildings and it has streets, but it actually be a park that has a lot of flight tests and aircraft operations associated with it. One of the reasons why I want to do that is because FAA is more likely to fund certain pieces of the infrastructure if it has that those characteristics. Go ahead. One thing that Sonia this past week had sent me, there was some questions about well, will the property basically continue to be owned by the city? Will it be sold? That kind of thing. The answer is that it is very difficult to sell property that is airport property. I think it was a year or two ago. That was something that the Nelsons really discovered when we really presented them with the process of getting the property that that the old Bucks Market sets on, getting that released. It's a very lengthy process, very expensive. I think we figured for that little plot of land was $30,000 to $50,000 to get it released. So the answer is the property itself will remain in the airport deed. But that, however, doesn't mean that that this developments at the airport do not support local tax generation. And back over the last 2 or 3 years, the state Department of Transportation actually did an aviation state plan, and part of that state plan was to really look at the economic impact that the airports across the state was making. Because for you folks around this table, okay, most of you probably aren't aviation nuts like I am. So it's really about the economics of it, economic development. That's the reason why you're interested in it. So this actually showed the results of the economic impact of the Presque International Airport in 2022. And I'll draw your attention to how many state and local tax dollars the Presque International Airport actually generated. I believe it says 26 million.
23.
Or 23 million. That's a significant number. Okay, $23 million and not 1 inch of property at the airport is owned by a private individual. Okay, so it's not all about selling the land and generating property tax. It's basically the second wave economic impacts, and on the park, if somebody wants to build their own building, okay, a aerospace research firm, that is going to be up for consideration. The land will be rented to them probably for either a 25 or 49 year period. 49 years is the limit FAA will only allow us to lease a piece of land up to 49 years. But even without any private ownership at the airport now, we're generating over $23 million. And I'm also proud to say the total economic impact of the Presque International Airport was the third largest in the state of Maine. We were our economic impact was about a quarter of what Bangor International Airport was, okay? And you've all visited the Bangor International Airport, and it's a lot larger than what we've got going on at Presque International Airport, but we're generating about a quarter. I think we're really punching over our weight on that. So this whole thing is about economic impact. Also, it's about increasing the tax base. Next slide. When the park is fully built out, these are my estimates as part of the master planning process. People who are much better at predicting economic impact will be involved with that. But just my casual estimates based on 11 buildings, we're looking at creating over 400 jobs for engineers and scientists. Okay, those aren't jobs that pay minimum wage. Those are jobs that pay nearly, or in some cases, 6 figures. Okay, significant payroll impacts there. As I had said before, fully built out using my scheme, we'll have 11 buildings and over 420,000 square feet of hangar space. Most of the buildings will be built such that if need be, they can be transitioned into hangars, because you can always rent hangars at an airport. You might not always be able to rent an office building. Next slide. So phase one. Phase one actually is underway. Phase one is what we broke ground on last month or month and a half ago. We create 2 streets off an airport drive, and the first building is labeled number 1. That first building already has a tenant. That's Vault Enterprises, and the project is funded by a combination of EDA money. We got a sizable EDA grant. We also got over $500,000 from Maine DOT. That's a sizable amount of money for the state aviation group to actually contribute to a project. They did that because they believe that aerospace is a good economic development opportunity for the state of Maine, and they're just really pleased that we're attempting to do that here in Aroostook County. The local share, which this city council, not everybody who sits on here, had actually approved, the local share is not coming from local tax money. It's actually coming out of the COVID relief funds that we the airport received during the COVID crisis. The phase one markers that are kind of pointing to the ramp and to the taxiway, that actually has not been approved by FAA as of yet. They want to see more activity in our research park before they commit to that. Next slide. So why Northern Maine? Why would somebody want to do flight research in Northern Maine? Low population density to reduce risk of injury to the public, okay? In the United States, one of the most popular places to do flight research is in the desert of the western part of the United States. Probably the center of that kind of activity is the Antelope Valley of California. It's in the high desert, right? Desert, not a lot of population density, safe place to do flight tests. Well, in Maine, we have our desert. It has trees on it, but it's west of Ashland. Virtually, population there, or very low population. We have a close proximity to the United States border for homeland security applications and joint projects with Canada. Carl Hoos will actually talk about interaction that he had with FAA Commercial Space Office, that one of the things that they were really excited about his project in its rocket launches was hopefully involving the Canadians and having a joint program. We have close proximity to diverse terrains to test the range of capabilities. We have mountains, we have trees. It's not a homogeneous desert landscape here, okay? Access to coastal environment, military warning areas in the Gulf of Maine and Gulf of St. Lawrence. Again, not really necessarily totally local to this area, but in close proximity. Very limited amounts of low altitude air traffic, okay? Back when Sikorsky did their flight testing here at the airport, I don't know if you folks know this or not, but the very first helicopter to be certified to fly in icing conditions did some of its natural icing test in Presque, Maine. And one of the things that Sikorsky really liked about it was Boston Center, because there isn't a lot of air traffic in our area, was able to turn over large tracts of airspace to allow them to test in natural icing conditions. We also have a close proximity to military airspace in western Maine. A lot of those corridors that were actually created to support activities at the former Loring Air Force Base. A lot of those corridors still exist. Cold climate to develop cold weather operations, equipment, and procedures. Believe it or not, the Honda Jet, Honda makes jets now. The Honda Jet actually did some of its cold weather testing in Presque, Maine. So those are some of the reasons why this gives Presque at least some reason to believe that we can participate in this industry. Next slide, Eric. So now, why Presque? Okay. Isn't this really something that maybe, yeah, do that at Loring. Loring's the right place to do that. Well, again, we have still relatively little air carrier traffic, okay? Even with 3 flights a day, okay? We have air carrier service, we have an airline, people can fly in here, but it isn't so frequent that it really ties the facility up. We have well-maintained runways, taxiways, and ramps with long-term operational funding already in place. That's really your ace in the hole, okay? We have somebody that's already paying the freight to keep this airport open. And it's called the air carrier. No matter who it is, and that, having that air carrier here requires us to keep things in pretty tip-top shape. Facilities already in place to begin flight operations today, no large investment in infrastructure required. Believe it or not, we've had several flight test programs that have occurred at Prescott. Now, to further build on that, yes, infrastructure will have to be built, but we're already we're participating in aerospace research. Vault, for example, is located in existing infrastructure, actually growing out of that infrastructure, and that's the reason why we need to complete this 12,000 square foot building. We also have fire crash rescue facilities, okay, manned by the Presque Fire Department. And oh, by the way, the fire department doesn't do that for free. The airport pays for all of the firefighters' time there and all the expenses associated with that fire coverage. Some of you might not be aware that we also have a seaplane base. Hanson Lake is a seaplane base, affording opportunities to do things with amphibious aircraft. And we, as I mentioned earlier, we have this established record of flight test support. We actually did a flight test program that was a joint program between the Air Force and Northrop Grumman, and given the good support that we gave to that flight test program, we actually got a letter of accommodation from the Air Force Office of Technology. Next slide. Loring Commerce Center and Loring International also has a role to play. And as they develop over there and they do more and more, what we're actually creating is what I call the Aroostook Aerospace Cluster, okay? A lot of times in Maine, a lot of the stuff that we're working at, the pie is a fixed size, right? And we're all basically chopping up this fixed piece of pie. The aerospace world, okay, is not a fixed piece of pie tied by a piece of geography, okay? Things like French fry production, it is. There's only so many French fries that people in the northeast of the United States can eat, okay? There's a lot of things that we do, we're kind of limited by our location, but aerospace is really international. And quite frankly, if you deal with folks in Europe, we're actually at the front door of Europe instead of being at the end of the line. Next. Loring basically has some of the most expansive facilities on the East Coast. It has its main runway, it's 300 feet wide and over 12,000 feet long. And the main runway is actually located here. Right next to that is a runway that is 150 feet wide, like ours is, but it's over 11,000 feet long. So there's just tons of possibilities for aerospace activity there at Loring. And we shouldn't feel threatened by that. We should be actually cheering it on because it helps build the Aroostook County Aerospace Cluster, and it also supports our passenger service. Okay, Loring has no desires to do passenger service because doing passenger service is a very expensive undertaking. That Part 139 certificate that we have, that requires a lot of extra stuff versus just being a general aviation airport. Next slide. And there's a close-up of Loring. Next slide. So, future projects that we're going to talk about tonight. Next slide. Timing. Why are we talking about this now? Okay. Well, we're really talking about this because we believe the people that are kind of involved in this effort, Vol and other stakeholders, believe that in this period, DoD is really focused on hypersonics. They're looking to try to catch up with the Chinese, and they're willing to basically spend money, okay? And we believe we want to take advantage of that timing, so we're really kind of pushing things along. We don't really have the opportunity to set and study this for 3 years and then do something, okay? We need to try to bootstrap something very quickly. Funding, the development of the aerospace park will need to depend on federal funding primarily, and rental revenue for buildings constructed with grant and COVID relief funding. Okay, so this isn't a project that Presque Isle could ever think of funding with local property tax. Okay, there isn't enough property to basically tax. It has to be primarily federally funded, and then what we do is for the local share, because there's always a local share, is there not? That's always the bad part. But in the case of the FAA, the local share is sometimes 5%, and sometimes it's 2.5%, because certain projects, Maine DOT actually participates with us, and they take half of the local share. But in the cases where the local share is larger, we don't rely on local property tax, but I do have to rely or request the borrowing authority of the city of Presque. Okay, I am not the airport is not a separate entity, as some people have pointed out in discussions with the terminal. It's not, it's a department of the city of Presque. Previous city councils, I proposed separating it kind of out from the city so it would be its own authority. Previous city councils, no. We want to keep the airport as a department. But we really do, at times, we will need that borrowing authority. But the loans don't get paid back by local property tax. The loans get paid back by the people who rent the buildings. So projects we're going to talk about tonight, we're going to be talking about the master plan, talking about 50,000 square foot production facility, schematic design only. Okay, one thing that we don't do terribly well is predict what these projects are going to cost. Do we, Hank?
No.
No. So basically, what I did is I said, how can I improve that? How can I invest a little bit of money, and some would say a lot of money, to basically see what something costs before we start writing grants and start raising funds for it. Because a lot of grant opportunities, you get a bite at the apple one time. Congressional designated spending, you know, the help we've had from our 2 senators. You get a bite at that apple once. They say, how much is this gonna cost? Okay, okay, it's gonna cost $5 million or whatever you say. Okay, we can get you $4 million. Okay, but if that price doubles, okay, you can't really go back to the 2 senators and say, oh, I goofed up, I messed up. It's actually double. So really, with the 50,000 square foot production facility, that's a schematic design only. The acquire and refurbish the International Paper building hangar. That's the big blue building that's on the airport. I brought Tom along tonight because he's kind of responsible for that building, but it sits on airport property. And we've got some compliance issues we got to deal with the FAA and where that revenue is going. And Tom's going to talk a little bit about what his idea was. It wasn't necessarily my idea, but I think it's a good one nonetheless. Next slide. So with that, I'm going to ask Carl Hoos to come up. He's the president of Vault Enterprises, and he's going to talk a little bit about his involvement with the aerospace part, and I'll be back to go over those items.
Thank you, Scott. Mr. Chairman and council members, thanks for letting me speak tonight. I'm Carl Hoos, president and founder of Vault Enterprises. My business partner, Elise McGill, who couldn't be here tonight, her and I decided after chatting with Scott in early 2001 that we were going to make our home up here for the company. And the reason being, as Scott brought up, it's low population density. And basically with our flight testing, low population density is the best thing for us. So we conduct flight tests. Actually, we have a flight test range out in western Maine, about west of Ashland. So we have lease agreements with the landowners, 2 of the big landowners out there, to conduct flight testing, and we have a very close relationship with the FAA to conduct these tests. And the reason being is because we're developing a pretty unique propulsion system. So we use rockets. We build rockets ourselves. Rockets are one type of propulsion system, but we're looking at a very high-speed jet engine. So instead of rockets carry fuel and oxidizer. We're using the oxygen in the air just like a jet engine does. And that's majority of what a rocket launch vehicle looks like. It's huge because of all the oxygen that it's bringing on board. So we're not a SpaceX. We're not, we don't have huge launch vehicles out in the western part of Maine. We're doing stuff that's pretty small. We're starting out at 6 inches in diameter and kind of moving up. Most of our work is for DoD because, as Scott mentioned, they have a big interest in hypersonics. I've been in hypersonics since '86, and it's had its ups and downs, but it wasn't until China and Russia actually flew hypersonic systems that our generals basically said, we've got a problem. And we do, a big one. Hypersonics is everything flight in the atmosphere above 5 times the speed of sound. That's a mile a second. So that's where it starts, and it goes up from there. When you go into orbit, you're going 5 miles a second. So when you're going to orbit something around the Earth, 5 miles a second. That's where we play. And I've spent my whole career in that area. Presque Isle is where I found myself after a lot of discussion. Love Maine, but Presque Isle, it just suits us for the location. The FAA liked it. Our original goal is to go into orbit, to put small payloads into orbit, because satellites are becoming the size of a loaf of bread. They're not. A lot of them don't have to be huge. Small businesses are making small satellites anywhere from $10,000 to a couple $100,000. Satellites that DoD puts up and other commercial entities, they used to be hundreds of millions to over $1 billion for one satellite. So the whole market is changing. SpaceX had a lot to do with that. They totally disrupted the launch market. We wanted to get in to cater to the small satellite organizations that wanted to put a lot of satellites up. Everybody's probably familiar with Starlink now. If you have a cell phone, you're using satellites, whether it's directly or indirectly. But it's just the way of the world now. Everything works on it. Even our banking system works with satellites. So the market is never going to go down. And in hypersonics, it's only climbing. 2014, 2015 timeframe, hypersonics was in the $25 to $50 million market with DoD. Now it's over $15 billion. And it just started that because China and Russia came up. And so when we were focused on access to space, DoD finally popped up and said, hey, we got to get into hypersonics. And that 50 million went to 1.2 billion in 1 year. That's how quickly they're moving up. Where we come into play is we're not specifically focused on just doing DoD work. I'm a taxpayer like everybody else, and I hate the fact of all the waste in DoD, all the waste in the military. I love the military, what they do. I've been part of it my whole career, my whole life. My dad was in the Navy. But I do not like how much tax dollars go into it, and I don't believe it has to be that way. And that's one of the reasons why we're in existence. We want to bring access to space, and we want to bring hypersonics down in dollar amount. And we can do it here in Presque Isle. And flight testing, for us, flight testing is, it's very low cost. Our systems that we're developing, very low cost compared to an RTX, a Lockheed Martin. That's what we want to focus on. Not to mention the military needed this type of technology. They need it. The Marines specifically need longer range capability than what they have right now in order to stay relevant. When you talk about the South China Sea, the islands, and everybody's probably seen it in the news all over, there's a lot of distance that's needed at small scale. That's what we focus on. So it's really a small market of people that are working in it, other than large companies that are making billions just in the research. And that dollar amount that I quoted you before, there's no product out there yet. That's just research and development. No product. So what we want to do is develop, well, basically build the company. I mean, we got 2021, when we came up here in the summer, we hired, we were able to get an engineer that graduated UMaine from Presque, and he came up with an intern that was from Caribou, with another mechanical engineer, and he was going to school, I think, in Florida. And we brought them both up and went into the largest hangar that was open, because that was the only facility they had at the time for us to go into. I'll really say it was a hangar door that sold us, though. When that opened up, it was like a big bay window in the company, you know. And so, but it was perfect. You could see it. Everything's coming together at that point. Now we're completely loaded up on the one side of the hangar, and we need space desperately. We got 12,000 square foot building coming in. That was to hold the whole company that we had, office space as well as manufacturing. Now our manufacturing is just going to take that building up. And we've got about 3,500 square feet of office space in another building on the airport through Tom. And we'll probably, hopefully, grow into more space there. But we're going to need more space. I'm thinking that we're probably going to swallow up that 50,000 square foot facility in no time, too. We're at 30 people right now. We're going to hopefully grow to 90 in the next year. It may be even next summer. We need precision manufacturing. When NMCC's precision manufacturing curriculum was going out the door, we had to put the brakes on that and help them out, which we do. And we've got a couple of our people that have, well, 4 of our people that actually were trained there. We've got 1 there now. So we're kind of reaching out in all areas, including housing. But we do pay a really good salary. So the benefits to Presque Isle and the growth that we see for the company up here at the airport, to everything that Scott was talking about, to us, it makes a lot of sense. And the FAA as well, because as Scott mentioned, we went to the FAA, and there's 2 parts of the FAA Aviation and then the Office of Commercial Space Transportation. They're the ones that deal with launch. And so we went and sat down with their whole group of people that basically assess launch sites. And at the time, we were looking at possibly a launch site and on the coast of Maine. And because you can go right over the water, and the public is nowhere to be seen. You're about 450 or so miles downrange, and by that time you're in orbit. So that's a good place, but they said, we'd also look at giving you a launch license from northern Maine, because the population density in northern Maine and into Canada is so low, and the Canadian government doesn't have a launch capability yet. So they were thinking in their terms. They wanted to work with the Canadian government. Everything goes through the State Department, but they work with the Canadian government in order to have a launch facility. Comes out of Maine that can also feed Canada. And not just in access to space, but now in hypersonics. So there's a lot of opportunity that we see. It's just growing. This aerospace research park to us is a really good plan. We can see it coming together. It's kind of hard to get everybody seeing the same picture, but as we go through the process, it'll probably become clear. But we do have 30 people now. Average salary is in the six figures. So we pay really well, and that's the way that it should happen in Presque Isle. So, any questions from the council members?
No,
Thank
but I just want to say I've been able to, from the start, got to know the crew, if you will, and they're wonderful. They've been great. They've been great supporters of the community, and thank you for being here.
Thank you very much. Thanks,
Yeah,
Greg.
Carl, thanks for
Thank you.
believing in Presque Isle and putting your business here.
Oh yes, it's I originally came here in 1980 to go to school at University of Maine Presque Isle for wildlife management. Switched over to engineering, and here I am. So it's great. Thank you.
So as you can tell, Carl's pretty passionate about what he does, and that passion really gets you a long way on this stuff. But I think one of the things that I forgot that he keyed in on was the people that he has been able to bring into this project. One thing, we do a fantastic job. The city of Presque Isle spends a lot of money on SAD1, and SAD1 does a pretty darn good job educating their people. I'm not a wildcat. I went to Washburn, right? But when I went to when I went to
We got him now, though, Washburn.
when I went to university, I had the privilege of meeting some people that your school system put out. Fabulously smart people. This guy is taking advantage of that. Okay, one of the biggest thrills I've gotten over the last 3 years is my wife was stopped in Walmart by his chief engineer's grandmother. Okay, and thanked us or thanked me that I was able to bring this project together so that her grandson could come back to Presque Isle, Maine. And that's what it's about. It's, you know, Carl and I, we kind of get jazzed up about the technology and stuff. But for you guys, it's really how do we bring some of that talent that you spent a lot of money developing, okay, through your school system, how do you bring some of that back? Because those are the people that can really move your community forward. Mike is a great example. Okay, he went to UMaine, electrical engineering. I remember when I talked to Mike, he was just finishing his sophomore year in electrical engineering. I said, Mike, I said, how's this semester going? And he goes, well, it's been kind of a rough semester. And I said, really? I said, yeah. He said, I got my first B. Everything else had been A's, right? Okay, and that's a wildcat.
I can relate.
Okay, your school system basically produced that. But when he wanted to come back home, when he had enough of Massachusetts, okay, there really wasn't a place that he could find a job to use his talents. So that's when we lost him out west. Good thing we got him back.
I had a summer I weed whacked for the rec as an electrical engineer. Yeah.
Yeah.
I did. It was a nice summer.
So that's what we're looking to create. But enough of this passion. I will, if you got any questions about the aerospace park, okay, I'm not going to take any more time on this now because you've had a long session. But I'm going to stay here after the meeting, and Carl is going to stay here, And any question you want to ask us, whether it's positive, it's a negative question, you ask that question. Because I don't want anybody in this room to ever be back in the position that Mr. Hall was in a couple months ago.
Yeah.
We need to be, we're going to be transparent about this. You got concerns about it. I want to hear about those concerns because then I can work on those concerns. But anyway, the first project is this evaluation of the IP building, and I'm going to actually have Tom kind of come up and talk about the IP building. And what his thoughts are on that building. But I am going to tell you, this project looks really great. But one of the drawbacks is that building is currently used by people now. Okay, they store their campers, they store their cars in that building, and you know what? If we go ahead and we do this evaluation and we prove that there is an aviation reuse in this aerospace park for that building, I can almost guarantee there's going to be some of those people that are going to come after you and try to convince you that it's a bad idea because they want a place to store their stuff. It's not the best decision, but they will do that. So the reason why we're doing the evaluation to see if it is actually a good idea or not. The study will speak for itself. Tom?
Scott, I just want to say something. I want to acknowledge that you're doing a great job.
Thank you.
I think sometimes to believe in something really big in this community, especially as it is tough to get people on board with. And I think what you're doing with Vault in the aerospace park and growing the airport is some of the growth that we need in the community. So don't let the naysayers get too hard on you. You're doing great work, and
Thank you.
it's already showing its fruits. So thank you.
Good evening, Council. How are you? For anybody who may not know who I am, I'm Tom Powers. I actually operate the industrial park for the city of Presque. As Scott so many mentioned so many times, is that the city does own all the property of the industrial park. It was all handed to the city of Presque. It is set in two separate deeds, the industrial deed and the airport deed. Scott also pointed out, and I hope you made mental lock that in, the airport area and around it, we could give them $1 million for the next billion years and they don't care. It isn't about the money. It's about keeping problems out of the area, and the easiest way to do that is to keep control of the area. So it's not that anything's impossible, it's just made difficult on purpose because they've run into issues in other areas, whether it be Boston, Baltimore, wherever it might be. They've learned that when you give up that square foot, that might come back to haunt you. So, with that being said, inside the area of the airport deed sits this IP building, which is about 90,000 square feet. It was built as an original hangar in World War II. Two big additions were put on by the International Paper Company when they made corrugated cardboard there. It's not well laid out to be an aerospace building, right, turnkey, no question about it. But the FAA acknowledges that the city of Presque Isle has spent the last 60 years keeping the building up. So while it does set on airport deeded property, the asset of the building itself, they acknowledge that there would be pigeons flying in and out, or it may be demolished if it hadn't been kept up. When I say that, the council over the years has spent hundreds of thousands of dollars on new roofing and insulation, putting new siding on, overhead doors. A lot of money has been invested into that building to keep it up. It currently, and my whole tenure here and long into Larry's tenure, who was here 40-some years before me, it was cold storage use. So we have an old master plan from 1968, and it even says in that old master plan, this building is not at its best and highest use. And I think that's a very fair statement to put out there right now. It is used as a cold storage facility for recreational equipment, farm equipment. It serves a purpose. And it does put over $100,000 a year into the city's coffers through our management of it. But that is not the best and highest use of that building. So now, you've heard Carl speak, and he's kind of infectious to be around, but I'm kind of a nuts and bolts kind of guy, so you'll probably listen to what I say a little bit, because I've probably proven out that I'm a nuts and bolts kind of guy.
Mostly nuts.
Mostly nuts, thank you. With that
We
being,
like you.
But with that being said, we've built 5 or 6 buildings and remodeled them in the past 6 or 7 years up the park. We've done well with it. We've done it for a dollar volume that is enviable by a lot of people. Wish we'd built half a dozen more half a dozen years ago. As Scott has pointed out, the cost of stuff just continues to rise. As Carl pointed out, the DoD is very interested in bringing in hypersonic technology and making it at all different scales for all different reasons. Presque has set itself up, or is taking advantage of what it has naturally here, whether it's the clear skies to be able to launch, whether it's the low population that is currently in the area. But it's neat that they have a vision that hasn't been here before. And you kind of have to grab a hold of a vision. If you remember his line where he said he has 30 engineers now and hopes to have 90 within the next year or two. So that's 90 people that could be in the 6-figure range that are going to eat nearby. You're going to have relatives come up and visit and sleep nearby, need a house nearby, help grow this community and help grow its tax base and its operational units. That's where my nuts and bolts come in on this. The other side of the coin, Scott is right in that the city of Presque and the FAA have to come up with a matrix or a design, which we kind of put out there a couple years ago, and it has been in the making for 15 or 20 years, of separating the areas cleaner by saying, you take this side of the road and this will always be airport. You take this side of the road and this will always be industrial. We have that probably to a 75% degree. We're probably looking to close in the other 25% by doing this deal we're talking about with the IP building. FAA already acknowledges that it has value. The research and that's going to be done to find its value is something that everybody should have under their belt so they can look anybody in the eye and say, hey, look, we spent $150,000. This is the number it came up with. Are you going to spend that amount of money and try to refute it? Nope. It's worth this amount of money. Is that worth this amount of acreage? Yep. Can we swap even? Yep. I won't call it a divorce, but it's the easiest way to put it in your mind. You're separating the two entities so they are still compatible and work together, but they don't have monetary intermixings. And I think that's what we're looking to do in this account. He asked me if I'd come up and say I supported it. I absolutely do support looking at dividing this area up. It will help the industrial side of it move forward with what it does. It'll help the avionics side to do what it does. But I think, again, they both should be commended with the vision of wanting to move something forward. You remember when Kennedy said we're going to put a man on the moon? That was a lofty goal. We're not looking to put a man on the moon, but you have to have something to look forward to. You don't have 30 engineers in Presque area 3 or 4 years ago, and now you're not looking at another 60 in a couple years from now. That's where you want to go. They're the ones who are going to buy the $500,000 house. They're the ones who are going to send their kids to college. They're the ones who are going to have a couple kids and go to SAD 1 and help support it that way. That's the nuts and bolts approach that I'm taking on this whole deal. So I was told to keep it short. I'm real hard to do that. But please know that I fully support what these guys are doing and I see their vision. Any questions? Very good. All yours, Scott.
Thank you, Tom.
So Scott, this accept the bid for the evaluation of the building is what moves us forward on deciding on that. Is that correct?
That's right, and I have to make one correction. I had $175,000.
Yep.
I need to move that to $250,000. But the 95% of the funding being accomplished by the FAA administration, that still is correct. As I describe in this memo, the way we set fees for engineering with the FAA is independent estimate is done. Initially, the independent estimator had $145,000. CNS has come back with an estimate of $249,000, and we have to get together and bring those two to closer. But I don't want to hold the project up, so I would request you authorize Sonia not to exceed $250,000. The FAA will cover 95% of whatever the cost is, and then our passenger facility charge covers 5%, the remaining 5%.
So for the public, the $250,000 is the total cost of this, not our portion.
That's correct.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, our portion would be 12.5, which comes from the airport.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah. No, I just want to be sure that.
So what was the need to go up to that price?
What was the need?
Yeah.
Yeah. Right now, CNS, the actual people who are going to do the project, their estimate is $249,000. The independent estimate that's done by an independent engineering firm is saying it should be $149,000. So what we're going to do is over the next week or so, we're going to get all three of us together and we're going to negotiate that. But what I don't want to do, Hank, is if for some reason it stays at 249, I don't think it will. I don't want to put this off another month. So if you authorize Sonia not to exceed 250,000, then I know I'm covered. But whatever the fee ends up being negotiated to be, the FAA has to approve that fee because obviously they contribute 95% of this thing. And so after the negotiations are all done, I have to submit a letter of negotiation, justify why the final fee was fair and equitable, and then they make the final decision as to whether they think it's fair and equitable. Okay.
So this is just increasing our portion by, what, $3,500 or something along those lines?
Can you do that math real quick, Mike?
That was my attempt in my head.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, 37.15. Yeah.
But again, I want to repeat, everything about this looks really good, except for one thing. The people who currently use the building, if we start using it for something else, they're not going to be able to use the building anymore.
Yep.
Sounds like a new business opportunity for someone else.
So, Mr. Chairman, in light of that, I would move that we authorize the city manager to award CNS the bid for the evaluation of Building 401 in the amount not to exceed $250,000, with 95% of the funding coming from the FAA Airport Improvement Program grant, and the remaining 5% coming from the Airport Passenger Facility Charge Reserve account.
I'll second it.
Motion made by Craig and seconded by Hank. Is there any council discussion on the matter? All of those in favor? 7-0. All right. Thank you, Scott. Thank you, Craig. Thank you, Hank.
Okay, so the next agenda item is the JFK Aerospace Research Park Master Plan. This is where we really start to take this this park from kind of a conceptual thing to actually putting some meat on the bones, and because you got to have a plan. You know, we got to know where these, when we build the next building, we got to know where the next 3 after that are going to go. Okay, and the purpose of the master plan is to really look that over. One thing that I'm very excited about in regards to this master plan is the stakeholders that I will have involved with this project. Certainly Carl will be part of the stakeholders, but I will also have a gentleman by the name of Stu Witt. Stu Witt is the person who took Mojave, California, and it was a dry, dusty, old Marine training base, and he turned it into a first-class aerospace research facility. He's no longer with Mojave. He's a consultant, and he will be on our stakeholder committee. But the other, and Carl mentioned FAA commercial space. When Carl talked to FAA commercial space, the guy who ran that for the FAA at the time was a guy from Caribou, Maine. Okay, and his father was in the Air Force, and he was born in Caribou, Maine, and I met him at a space conference. And I didn't know he was from Caribou, Maine, and the person who introduced me didn't know he was either. And I got asked, I got introduced as being from Presque, Maine, and he said, "Oh, I know where Presque, Maine is," and so I didn't think anything about that, and I started talking some more, and he said, "I was in Presque, Maine just 2 years ago." And so that got me. And I said, "Look," I said, "why were you in Presque, Maine 2 years ago?" He said, "My dad lives in Caribou now, and I was born in Caribou." This guy is a retired brigadier general. He works for Bechtel, and he basically ran FAA commercial space, and he's going to be on our stakeholder committee. Basically driving us, you know, what direction we should go to basically maximize our benefit, our opportunities here. So that's really what this is about. There will be some people in the public that will basically thirst for more information on whether this is viable or not. The master plan basically takes care of that.
Scott, will this be like just real high level, like where you place buildings and stuff, or will we look at like utilities and roads and infrastructure to support?
We will actually show layout of roads and where the main utilities will go, so that as we're doing this in phases, we're adding to the overall utility thing. Like for example, phase 1, we're actually putting utilities in to put 2 more buildings on Grissom Street or Grissom Drive. It would be Grissom Drive, I guess. Yeah. And
see, even you said it with the last name. That's what we should have named it.
Yeah. Well, I'm trying to be respectful of that discussion because I remember the discussion. But that's what it is basically in trying to get some concept of what some of this stuff costs.
And so MCFA hyphen Harmon is Harmon Associates. And what's MCFA? Would that be like a architect partnering with a aviation somebody? Or?
Yeah, MCFA is a company that does a lot of research park planning. Interesting enough, one of their big projects was at the Grissom Air Force Base in the Midwest. And what they look at is they look at old military facilities, which Presque is one of those, and they look at ways to basically redevelop it into aerospace research facilities. Their primary planner actually used to work for HNTB, and as you know, Mike, HNTB used to be the airport engineering firm, and actually did a great job for us. Harriman brings that local connection with the codes and how things get designed in Maine, and how things cost. You know, they've worked with companies like Butt Construction and Sheridan and those folks, and they have a great ability to estimate cost.
Okay. Mr. Chair, I move the City Council authorize the city manager to award the bid for the master plan in the amount not to exceed $200,000 to MCFA Harriman Team, with 95% of the funding coming from the Federal Aviation Administration AIP grant fund, if found eligible, the remaining 5% coming from the airport passenger facility charge reserve account. In the event that the master plan is found not to be AIP eligible, the project shall be funded out of the FAA COVID Relief Funds Reserve.
All right. Take the motion
Second.
made by Mike, seconded by Tim. Any further discussion? Seeing none, all of those in favor? 7-0.
The final project involving the aerospace park is a schematic design of a 50,000 square foot aerospace development center. And this building will be designed in such a way that it can be used as a production facility, a hangar that might be used for a maintenance, refit, and overhaul operation, or a place where test equipment can be brought in and actually have testing performed in that building. The schematic design, according to Harriman Associates, they can predict the final price of the building within plus or minus 10%. I can write a grant with a 10% contingency. I can't write a grant with a 50 or 100% contingency.
Yeah, I was noticing the team that they've put forth in this proposal. Most of them all have recent relative experience in the local area, Presque, city of Presque, the Micmac Nation, and other folks around Maine. So, good solid basis in what our needs are. So that's a good.
And the project manager actually lives in Caribou.
Yeah.
And she's she's sharp.
Mm-hmm.
She's working on. She worked on our 12,000 square foot building redesign, and there was actually one general contractor that when they found out that Harriman was doing the design, they said, we're going to bid it then, because Harriman usually is pretty good at at stretching every dollar, which that's what people in Maine want.
Scott, you say this is going to be funded with $159,000 out of the FAA COVID relief funding. How much money is in that funding?
Nearly $2 million.
Okay, so if
Yeah.
on the last thing we just approved, if by chance the $200,000 isn't paid for by the Aviation Administration or the AIP grant fund, that's going to be paid for out of the FAA COVID relief funds reserve. I'll just make sure there was enough in
Yes.
that reserve to cover both and just
Yep.
in the
Scott, what else like would those funds be used for? Like, what would be? They can't just be used for anything. Like, what would be qualifiable expenses?
They basically can be used for any project at the airport. Okay. With as you know, money can't flow out of the airport into other city budgets. It's actually a violation of FAA regulation. But the way that those funds were acquired or drawn down, it was done with a qualifying expense, and then we can use the money at the airport for all kinds of things.
Could some of that money be used for a jet bridge?
For what?
A jet bridge?
A jet bridge basically is fully AIP eligible. My recommendation on the jet bridge is let's get the terminal built and see where we're at, and then perhaps apply for a jet bridge then. A jet bridge, I was, just so everybody knows, when I started the project, I was very, very excited about having a jet bridge. It's actually a status symbol, right? It's almost like having that certain kind of pickup or whatever,
Well,
right?
I was just thinking, those nights when it's 20 below and the wind's ripping 30 miles an hour, you'd be.
One of the reasons why we've decided to hold off on the jet bridge is jet bridges are very maintenance intensive, and we're not really totally comfortable with trying to have somebody on call 24/7 for a jet bridge. Actually, and also the station manager, the airline station manager, was also very concerned about damage to the aircraft. There are a lot of aircraft damage incidences that happen.
Oh, I'm sure.
Yeah.
I didn't mean to get
Yeah,
into
no,
details, so
it's
get off
there's a
track
lot of
here. I know it's getting
consideration,
late and it's easy to-
but believe me,
to wander down rabbit holes here.
yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. My questions are answered.
Anybody else? Mr. Chair, I move that the City Council authorize the City Manager to award Harriman the bid for the schematic design of the Aerospace Development Center in the amount of $159,000, with the funding coming from the Federal Aviation Administration COVID Relief Fund.
I'll second it.
Motion made by Tim, seconded by Hank. Any further discussion? Seeing none, all in favor? 7-0.
Okay, so the last agenda item has.
Wait, there's more.
Yes. I saved it all up, right? The last agenda item doesn't have anything to do with the aerospace park. It's actually considering going and having a cost estimate done to complete a 5-unit T-hangar complex. back in 2020, we built one of these buildings, and what we're proposing to do here is to take the drawings and the specifications that were used to build that building and making them available to a cost estimating company, which in this case happens to be PCM, and have them estimate what the cost would be to build those buildings today. And then what we would do is we would use that cost to develop a pro forma and come up with what the monthly rent would have to be to over probably a 20-25 year period, pay off the cost of the construction of those buildings. So pay off a loan plus the interest. What we found from the first project is that most people will not sign onto the project and sign a lease unless they know what they're going to have to pay for rent. And again, on that project, we underestimated the cost a bit, and it got a little hairy near the end, and probably I did something, made a decision to cut costs that probably was a decision that shouldn't have been made, because it came back to bite me later. And I promised Rick Courier I would never do that again. So with this particular project, we want to get a good idea of what the costs are up front. The current units have had 100% occupancy for the 5 years they've been in existence, and we have a waiting list of 5 people, and so we're in hopes that those 5 people, or perhaps some others, will express interest once they know what the cost will be for the monthly rent. And to kind of give some background, I had hoped to have one of those 5 people here tonight, but that just didn't work out. So I actually asked Sean Collins. I don't believe Sean is related to the Collinses in Caribou. Sean is actually from the Brewer area, but he is the Northeast representative of AOPA, and the AOPA is the aircraft owners equivalent of the NRA. Okay, they basically do all of the heavy lifting to protect the rights of aircraft owners and operators, and he's kind of here to give you some of the good points associated with building these hangars at your airport. Sean.
Chairman Willett, members of the council, thank you for the opportunity to speak with you today in favor of the T-hangar cost estimate. I promise to be very brief for you. Again, my name is Sean Collins. I'm the Eastern Regional Manager for the Aircraft Owners and Pilots Association. We are the world's largest aviation membership organization, representing approximately 300,000 aircraft owners and pilots across the country, including more than 1,500 here in Maine. I'm a commercial pilot by trade. I'm also, with Scott, a member of the Maine Aeronautical Advisory Board, and as he mentioned, I happen to be a resident of Brewer. Now, Scott asked me to provide AOPA's insights as it relates to our national perspective on the value of hangar development. And as I hope you know, your airport provides vital access to national and international networks connecting people and businesses with goods and services, including healthcare. Your airport is at the forefront of national preparedness, serves as a staging point during major weather events, and can serve as a rallying point in times of national crisis. I'll suffice to say that your airport is vitally important to a broader community than simple municipal boundaries would suggest. At the heart of the matter, as it relates to the municipality, is helping your airport to be as self-sufficient as possible, and the development of new hangars can be a fast track to accelerating airport revenue. Over the last few years, and in collaboration with a number of organizations, AOPA has surveyed airports across the country in numerous states to better gauge the status of existing hangars, and the following highlights have been identified. On average, 40% of airport revenue is derived from aircraft hangars, either direct rentals or through ground leases for private hangars. More than 64% of airports have a waiting list for hangars. The average airport is the average airport hangar is more than 30 years old. Airports would need to build more than 50% of hangars, of today's current number of hangars, just to meet the current demand. 70% of aircraft owners wait a year or longer for access to hangars, and 38% will wait 2 years or more. And just think about how much economic activity is lost as a result of our inability as an industry to meet that demand. So clearly, our surveys illustrate a clear demand signal for new aircraft hangars, and as such, approving today's bid will help accelerate revenue growth at the airport while improving the self-sufficiency of the airport. For these reasons, AOPA encourages the council to accept the bid. Thank you for your time. Happy to answer any questions you may have.
Oh, is it Scott? Is that your name?
Sean.
Sean. No, that's, no, good information. For this, $6,950, to estimate the build cost of a new 5-unit T-hanger, can we, is it gonna cost any extra if we decide to build 2 5-unit T-hangers? Because if right now you're at capacity and you've got a waiting list of 5, you're gonna build this one to house those 5, and I see the sport, I believe that I see the sport of flying, gaining interest and experiencing some growth. Would it be wise, while you're here right now doing this, do you have room for 2 5-unit T-hangers? And is that something you considered? And if not, why?
To answer your question, the location of these second units will be right kind of an extension of the current 5 units, and 10 units will probably push me into the road setbacks we did a lot of talk about tonight. So, and then in order to do 10, I would probably have to do another taxi, another ramp, and it would significantly probably increase the cost. Now, that said, once I have this done, and I kind of know what the cost is per per unit, and I do my survey, if I find that there's more than 5, well, maybe we consider doing 7 or something like that. Whatever the area will allow before I get into that road setback. Because as soon as I can't put it in the location that I'm thinking of, it's probably going to cost a lot more. And the hangar rent's going to be pretty steep to begin with. It's not going to be the $325 that the current ones are. And so I'm really concerned about trying to keep this cost as low as possible. One of the things that we did with the first 5 units, when we built these units in 2020, the airport had been trying to build T-hangars since 1997. And where they would always get tripped up is in the cost. And the people in the potential tenants would actually accuse the airport and the city of, oh, you're trying to build these very palatial buildings or whatever, and you're adding a lot of cost. These 5 units, the design of these 5 units were actually overseen by the 5 people who actually rented the units. So I think cost is very important here, and we want to keep that cost as low as possible. But if I get 7 people who are interested, I probably can add 2 more units onto this, and probably the cost per unit might even go down a little bit. But if I go to 10, I'm going to have to go to a different location.
Okay.
Yeah.
Scott, why is the motion's for 6950, but it looks like the estimating on the fee chart was 9,000? Why are they different?
Because when I initially contemplated this project, I wanted a design review, okay? Because code is always changing, right? And so when I got that estimate back, which included Harriman, the total project was $29,500. And the cost estimate portion was $9,500. Now, when Harriman suggested, look, if you don't want to pay $29,000, why not just have an estimate done? When I went directly to the company doing the estimate, and because they could count on there not being any design changes, they actually lowered their price. Yeah.
Okay. Anybody want to make a motion?
Sure. Mr. Chairman, I'd authorize the city manager to award PCM the bid for the cost estimate of the 5-unit T hangar complex in the amount of $6,950, with the funding to come from the FAA COVID relief funding.
Second. Motion made by Craig and seconded by Tim. Any further discussion? Seeing none, all of those in favor? 7-0. All right. Thank you, guys. Appreciate that. A lot to process and go through. Up next is our presentation of the 2024 annual report. And Sonny, you want to give a quick cap of what the 2024 annual report is?
I sure do.
Thank you.
So with great gratitude to our communications officer, Sean Cunningham, our library staff for editing help, and our department heads, we present to you the 2024 annual report. And it's in front of you. And that's the extent of that, Chairman.
All right. And this annual report is available online.
It is through our website.
All right, great. And
Looks great.
might I add that this 2024 annual report has been dedicated to a former counselor who left us too soon, Gary H. Nelson Sr. We spent a short time on council together with him, and he was a very kind and understanding and loving guy. And I just thought it was a nice gesture that it was dedicated to him. That's very nice. All right, moving on. We have a presentation of the outside request process from Kim Smith. The outside request is a part of our annual budget, and this is where various groups, community groups, organizations, nonprofits, et cetera, request financial support from the city of Presque Isle for their operations. And do you want to kind of give a history on?
I'm giving you a very brief overview of the new process tonight.
Send
That's all I'm doing.
Thanks, Kim.
You'll actually get more on the individual requests during the budget process
Yes,
in November.
absolutely.
So I'm just explaining how we did what we did tonight.
Great.
A few months ago, I was asked to take a look at what has been a very cumbersome, time-consuming process where not everyone would present their information in a standardized way where you could compare apples to apples or oranges to oranges. And also, we wanted to make sure that what we were doing was in compliance with state statutes and the guidelines from Maine Municipal Association. And in doing so, that led us to change the process a little bit and now ask everyone for certain documents. We ask them for their IRS 501c3 determination letter. That is to let us know that they are meeting the public purpose reason that we have to match according to the state statutes and the Maine municipal guidelines. We have asked them for their articles of incorporation, something they've not been asked for previously. That tells us that should this particular nonprofit go out of business in the next few months, what happens to that donation, not donation, but the outside request that you've given them. They have a dissolution clause in their articles of incorporation, so you can actually follow the money, so to speak. We've asked them to provide a budget so we can actually look at the need and have them demonstrate the need. And we have also asked them for a list of their board members, something we've never asked for before. And the purpose for that is so that we can determine up front in a very transparent way if there are any conflicts of interest in the things that they have presented to us. And that, in a nutshell, is the new process. We got several applications this year, and I've prepared for you a historical spreadsheet as well as one just for the year, but we will be taking that up, as I said, later in November.
Super. That's great. Thanks very much, Kim.
Okay. Thank you.
Much appreciated. Moving along, looks like it's time for our manager's report. City Manager Sonia?
Thank you, Chairman
Saunders?
Jeff. The past month has been defined by active budget preparation, continued conversations around housing and development opportunities, and progress on capital projects. Alongside these initiatives, we've welcomed moments of community connection, Lifetime Achievement Award after 85 years of not giving a key to the city, students visiting City Hall, and we celebrated our city engineer Dana for 41 years of service to the city of Presque Isle, and one of our deputy clerks, Sierra, for 3 years to the city of Presque Isle. You can expect a third quarter report in November, which will illustrate our financial position and give you a state of the city. Looking ahead, lots of council budget workshops continue over the next several weeks, and there's significant community engagement opportunities with our Downtown Revitalization Committee, and holiday programming will be highlighted in November.
Great. Thank you. This brings us to the announcements portion, and I've got a few. Presque Isle Farmers Market is Saturdays, 8:30 a.m. to 12:30 p.m. Not sure how many more farmers markets
It's
there
the
are.
last one.
Last one.
This is the last
That's
one.
the last one.
Wow.
Saturday's the last one.
There it is. The city also has the following employment vacancies. We're looking for a truck driver for the Public Works Department. We're looking for a firefighter EMT for the fire department, and police department is always hiring. We have the following vacancies for boards and committees. The Rec and Parks, we're looking for 3 one-year alternates. The Assessment Review Committee, we're looking for 1 one-year alternate. The Audit Committee, we're looking for 1 4-year member. The Downtown Revitalization Committee, we're looking for 1 4-year member. Well, with 2 years and 5 months remaining. So, yeah, we're looking for someone to fill that position. The Downtown TIF, we're looking for one-year community member. The library board, my goodness, excuse me. The library board, we're looking for one-year alternate. Please contact the city clerk for an application or apply online. The next scheduled meeting of the Presque Isle City Council is our budget workshop, which will be held on Tuesday, October 14th, 2025 at 6 p.m. right here in the council chambers at City Hall. And I also have a few more announcements for the Presque Isle Historical Society. Are doing their 15th annual Haunted Lantern Tours. These are walking tours at 6 and 7 p.m. No reservations needed. Tours are outdoors, $5 per person. Also offering trolley tours at 6:30 and 7:30 p.m. Reservations required at $7.50 per person. This will be held on Friday, October 10th and Saturday, October 11th. The tours will start and end at the historic fire station at 11 Church Street. Slightly scary, kind of creepy. True tales of downtown historic Presque Isle 1-hour tours. And also an event put on by the Presque Isle Historical Society will be the Haunted Hearse Tours of October 2025. In the fall of 2018, Maine Paranormal Investigative Team visited the area twice. See the beautiful community of Presque Isle by moonlight, learn about spirits and ghosts that are said to haunt certain locations, and discover where strange energies linger while hearing dark stories of the city's past. Get in the spirit with a 60-minute narrated tour that visits 13 sites around historic downtown Presque Isle and beyond. This will be held Thursday, October 23rd at 7 p.m., plus special tours on Halloween, October 31st at 6, 7:30, and 9 p.m. The tours start at the historic fire station on 11 Church Street, Presque Isle. Seating is limited. Reservations are required. $10 per person. 762-1151 or visit www.pihistory.org or the PI Historical Society at hotmail.com.
Ghosts not guaranteed.
And then there's more. Towards the end of October, the Historical Society presents the 8th annual Roosevelt Day at the museum on Monday, October 27th, 2025, in commemoration of Teddy Roosevelt's birthday. Come see the Society's fascinating Teddy Roosevelt artifacts, including a mirror that hung over the mantel at his Dakota ranch, velvet with buffalo horns. Sounds fancy. His birch bark moose call, and his long-barreled Colt revolver. This will be open from 6 to 8 p.m. at the Maysville Museum, located at 165 Kilby Road, Presque Isle. Free and open to the public. If you have any more questions, please reach out to the Presque Isle Historical Society at pihistoricalsociety@hotmail.com. And that wraps up the announcements for this trip around. It was a long meeting, and I think we've got some more. So, with that said, I would entertain a motion to enter. Hank, you want this one?
No.
Mr. Chairman, I'd move we go to executive session pursuant to State Statute 1 MRSA 4056C for real estate.
We have a motion made by Craig. Seconded by Tim. All of those in favor? Thank you all very much.